ready as I can.
All right. Warren Selectboard meeting, July 8th, 2025. Welcome, everybody. Do we have any public comment? Yes, Lisa.
I just wanted to bring up issues around maintenance, and maybe you have a plan, but I've been noticing probably for over a year that the bricks down by the old Roth building are they're all messed up, and the little gazebo, the roof looks like it's rotting away.
I don't think it is, but
We have this beautiful new pavilion, and then we have other stuff that looks like, pretty, pretty tacky. And then I did notice you had something on the agenda for tonight, but also the front of the town hall. Where
That's on the agenda for tonight.
Yeah, is that it? The rust, coming down, and it needs painting and stuff. So, since it's been a long time, and I think we brought up the roof on the gazebo, just wondering,
Yeah.
where it is in your plans.
Well, I will say we are all very aware that there are maintenance needs, and we're trying to figure out how best to approach them.
Sure.
We've sort of been in conversation about, do we bring on a property management company and have them sort of build out a maintenance plan for us and then oversee those, or is it something that we as a board do individually, which we are admittedly struggling to do? Or is there a world in which we have a position with a Department of Public Works or a facilities manager, as I think the word that we've bandied around that we like, that would provide salary dollars for someone to be on top of those things and provide us with a budget and a schedule to be maintaining things. And so I hear you. I really want to solve this. And if you have any thoughts on how best to move forward with that, we're really happy to entertain them.
I wish I did. I think it's more about, what would different options cost.
Yeah.
I do know that there was a problem with the bricks 4 years ago, and they weren't maintained, and then it cost about $20,000 or more to repair. And I remember Bob Ackland saying, well, we made an error,
Lisa,
the
are
bricks
those
weren't maintained.
the bricks are the red ones and the cobbles are the gray ones,
Oh.
right? Which ones are you talking about?
Well, in the beginning I was talking about the bricks. They're the red ones.
Yeah.
That on one side, and it could have been the cobbles.
I think the conversation we had
cobbles.
previously was about the cobbles, because
You're right.
that's supposed to have that permeable grout that allows water to filter below them.
Or something was supposed to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what I've been noticing that the bricks on the side are all messed up. And they have been for a long time.
we can't get anybody to come and fix them for us. That's what the problem is.
Really?
Yeah.
We've contacted a couple of people, and they either won't return a phone call or aren't interested in doing the work. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Well, that puts us between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, it looks awful. So,
Brick in a brick place.
Okay, well,
So as
It
far as
sounds like
building
you're working
maintenance
on it.
is concerned, we
Yeah.
are working on it, we are aware, and we need a plan for how to approach it going forward. Not just like, oh, let's fix that thing, but like, what is our plan for fixing things in general? Thank
Is
you
that on
for
our
caring.
upcoming agenda?
what?
The maintenance discussion.
I think so.
Could we add
Maybe.
it?
We can add it.
Does that make sense?
We can add it. I want to add it. It's like
It's on our project list for the year. So
it is. Yeah, we have it on a future agenda to talk about at least the schoolhouse
Mhm.
and how we want to approach that, like just brainstorm session. We should talk about maintenance in general. Thank you, Lisa. Any other public comment? Are you finish?
No, and then I'm here for, the discussion about the town garage.
Candace has her hand up.
Candace,
Hi. I do too.
Hi.
hi.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to say hello. So I'm Candace White. I live in Waitsfield, but I'm one of your 2 state representatives for Washington County 2. So I wanted to drop in on a select board meeting to kind of get caught up on what's going on in Warren, and interested in hearing about the town garage and also what's going on with the short-term rental study. I'm not sure I'll be able to stay for all of that, but that's why I'm here, and just want to say hello and thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Candace.
Alice?
Hello.
Hi, Alice.
Hello. I was trying to get in with Lisa right after because my issues are again village, and currently I have 2 things going on in discussion with other village residents. We're concerned about the lighting in the new gazebo. We think it's on, a lot of us think it's on much too much, long day, and also we're wondering why it has to be on 24/7.
It's not.
Well, not 24/7. How do you describe it? I mean, there's no day off that they're not on. They're on 7 days a week. That's how I should say it. So, yeah, I think and I guess along with the lighting, the Christmas lights on the municipal building, I spoke with them after they were put on that first year, the select board, and I thought they were coming down. I think, as Lisa was saying, things look tacky to me. We've got Christmas lights on the fire department, and we've got Christmas lights on the municipal building. I go through a lot of towns in the state, I'm sure you do. I don't see that anywhere else. They come off when Christmas is over.
Okay.
So,
We're just celebrating around.
I think the issue is probably that it's really challenging to get them on and off, and that's why they stay, because we don't have someone on payroll that can just do that, and it comes down to volunteer labor mostly.
well, they aren't attractive. I wish we had better lights, and they are new. I mean, this is not, I've lived in this village 30 years now, and these are new to the Christmas decoration, okay? And then there's one other, the parking next to the new pavilion. I think that should be handicap parking, and I've noticed people are really parking close up under the tree there, and that's not good. It's covering the green again. I mean, what are we creating here? It's just that again, is kind of tacky. Let's look a little more welcoming too.
Yeah, I think, Alice, we do have a plan for that to be handicap parking. I think the space in front of the ramp sort of goes away, and then there's a handicap spot parallel to the green, just to the, well, I guess if you're looking at the pavilion from the parking lot, to the left of it. And that will all be more clear when we finally get someone to respond to us with respect to restriping the parking lot.
Okay.
Thank you for your concerns.
Good to see you all.
You too, Alice. Any further public comment? Agenda changes.
Just that we need to add executive session to the end.
Okay, so we're adding an executive session after signatures.
I'm not sure if it's necessarily, I don't know if it's not really legal, it's not really personnel, it's, Harvey, what would you,
I think it's administrative.
administrative, yeah,
I call it legal, but
okay.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's appropriate.
Okay.
Let's go legal, 8:45, which will push our adjourning to 9.
Sorry, guys.
Fun!
What were we just talking about? Wait,
2-hour meetings.
Yeah, 2-hour meetings, right, 6 to 9.
3. We're having 3-hour meetings. I count like toddlers. Skip every other number.
Yeah.
Okay, we would like to invite Steve Roy to the table to present the town garage proposal, estimate, design, etc. I just want to remind everyone that our intention here is to give Steve the floor and let him present. The select board has an opportunity to ask some questions, but we'll reserve a full public conversation for our special meeting on the 21st of July at 5 in the town hall
Yes, right.
upstairs. So there's plenty of room for people to participate. Okay, Steve, if you would, please take it away.
Okay, thank you for inviting us here tonight. I am Steve Roy with Legal Lanphier Architects. Joining virtually is
Oh yeah.
our team at REARC, Chris Huston and Jim Gardner, as well as the civil engineer Dan Heil.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, guys.
Thanks for being here, team.
Welcome. Thank you for having us.
So one of the things that I wanted to go through was a little bit of a history from where we began and how we've gotten to where we are today. I can also walk you through the drawings. A few of you have not seen them in detail yet. We had some preliminary estimates late last year that had us in the $12 to $15 million range. We knew that wasn't going to be palatable. So we worked on some things to bring that number down. The key items that helped to bring that number down were to remove demolition of the existing garage from the scope. We looked at original plans that had a driveway configuration that didn't follow the existing path. It was cutting down trees, doing a lot of earthwork, and developing a new pathway that was completely different and meant to bring the slope of the driveway down. Each of those options were a really significant amount of work and cost. So this current option is really to leave the driveway in place in its location and form. So the same slopes that are there today would be kept. What we are doing is widening it to make it accessible for multiple vehicles to pass and paving it so that it's safe, easy to maintain. The next thing that we looked at was hiring a construction manager, which is why the REARC team is with us today. We did a competitive RFP and interviewed multiple companies. REARC was selected. By hiring them earlier in the process, it allows us to understand the cost of general conditions because it's now better defined. Their contractor overhead and profit is well defined as well. So there's no guesswork in that portion of the work anymore. All of the work that goes forward for actual construction will be competitively bid, and subcontractors were actually consulted to an extent for this estimate, so that's one additional layer of information that wasn't available at an earlier stage. And each of the subcontracts that will work under REARC will all be competitively bid, so there hasn't been any loss of competitiveness in this process. The last thing that we really did to move the project forward and work on cost was to continue working on the architectural, the civil, structural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire protection drawings. So having more detail for each of these elements has allowed us to provide an estimate that has more detail into it and greater granularity. I believe you have copies of the estimate. It's basically set up in two different ways. One is from REARC, the document. There's a summary document as well as a detailed document. If we decide we want to go through these in more detail, I'll probably defer to REARC for this. But to give a quick summary, the summary document is providing the hard bid construction cost, and it includes CM contingency and CM fees. If you switch to the overall project budget document, which is this one, those numbers are captured in the very top portion. So the subtotal of the hard costs equals the total construction cost estimate at the bottom line of the REARC estimate. In addition to those hard costs, we have kind of a second category of items that we factored in that are going to affect the overall cost, but are to an extent contingency and alternate related. So we have an annual escalator. That number of $255,000 is intended to say if the building is constructed in the spring of 2026, that is the added cost between starting breaking ground now and the spring. So if it were fall of 2026, that number would be higher, as an example. But all of the hard construction cost numbers are gathered as if it were being built today. We have included a tariff allowance. That number is really a contingency factor for the unknown, given today's economic realities. Obviously, if no tariffs are put into effect, that price is saved. But for now, we're going to include it. There are last two items on that list were the CMU wash bay and the salt shed. Those items were simply to have broken out to understand the cost of those items, as opposed to having to look deeper into the estimate for those. Everything has been included in the numbers presented.
And CMU is the cement.
It's concrete
Masonry-
masonry units
concrete masonry
for the
units,
wash bay,
thank you.
which we think is the best long-term, durable option to go with. We provided the contractor and the team with an option to use a metal stud wall, the FRP finish. The CMU would just be probably a longer lasting solution.
I see that we took out solar, and we noted it as a separate contract, but will we be solar ready?
It will be solar ready.
Okay.
It is required by code to be solar ready. We've looked at a few of these items as solar being, we think of around $125,000 value to the project. And the idea would be if there's unused contingency, perhaps it could be put on day one. Part of the reason to not have it within the construction cost is simply not to have the markup of an extra person to do that. So hiring directly from the town, but handling it immediately after construction might be the best route.
Makes sense.
The last portion of the overall project budget are what we call soft costs. These are related to all the engineering and architecture fees for the entire team, all the permitting fees for both the state Act 250 as well as Division of Fire Safety, any insurance, bond agency fees, legal fees, everything that's kind of required to make the project happen. Testing and inspections are also part of an owner cost, and that relates to hiring an independent third party to test concrete as it's going up, to test the steel as it's going up. And as well, there are a few items for security or access control, things that are provided by third party vendors from the town of Warren. So we come with all of those aspects of the estimate, and we come to right around 9.6 million as our current cost. And I did highlight in green below, though I don't expect contingencies to go away. There's 3 different contingency levels, which I've highlighted in purple along the way. The CM contingency is really for them to say, well, we don't, the drawings are not completely done. They're pretty well advanced, but there's still things that need to be detailed. That CM contingency is really intended to bring them from this estimate to the final construction drawing set. And so that CM contingency will be reduced significantly once the final drawings are done, and especially once we have bids. The tariff allowance, if there's more clarity moving forward in the next few months, that could also be better defined, hopefully. Right now it's just a very unknown element. And the owner's contingency, which we've carried at just under $330,000, that's really for the town of Warren to maintain, and would be impacted by any changes that are made during construction that are requests of the town, say, I want to add this extra feature, or something that changes that's unforeseen, if they found a buried item in the site that wasn't found earlier, as an example. So with all that, we've got roughly 1.4 million in contingency or tariff items that we hope will be reduced, but we can't guarantee or say for sure. And that's kind of where we are with the overall estimate. If you'd like, I can walk you through the drawings. I'm not sure how familiar you are with the building design itself.
I've looked at the drawings.
I'm good too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Harvey? So Harvey want
Oh, yeah.
to do what? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here.
Do you want him to walk through the drawings?
I've seen them, but if folks want to walk through it, that's fine, but you don't need to for me.
Okay.
I mean, just to give a quick, 50,000 foot level, if we're looking at the site plan, the driveway remains in the same place. In this location, the blue that is highlighted here is really just showing how the wetland buffer is impacted, or it's not impacted, it's sort of over that location. The two green areas are the buildings, the salt shed, and the town garage itself. The area that is darker on the top is the area of the pavement extents, and all of these, which are labeled as gravel, 8-inch minus, and sand. That's really just a nice flat area for them to pile materials that they need. Overall, the building is very simple. It's very utilitarian. It is, working with Andrew to get all the equipment needs met. It has some limited office space and a break room space, as well as locker, toilet spaces that are all required. These areas in orange are simply support spaces, electrical room, mechanical. We do have a fire pump, which is a requirement because there's some maintenance happening in the building. But overall, just very simple, trying to be as cost effective as we can. Building for the town that'll last a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
So happy to take any questions.
I like this price a lot more.
Yay.
That's
So
an
do we.
affirmation. Yeah.
Yeah.
We did. Breathe the sigh of
Good
relief
job,
on
Jim.
that one.
I think it was more you folks than me. I'm just reporting the findings. I don't know how much was invested previously before we were hired, but it's a very consolidated, simple, smart, well thought design between what Dan has done to blend the site and keep it as much of a, as we call it, a balanced site. We're trying to make sure we're not hauling excess material off at a higher cost, but we can actually reuse it on site, add for some more laydown area for all the vehicles and the operations that the town has to deal with. And maybe you got extra sand or other stuff being piled in on one certain year or another. So, with Steve's team and John Lamont, his counterpart in the architecture side, it really was nicely put together, and having them go into that final opportunity on structural, mechanical, electrical was really informative. We've had bond votes before where we don't even have any of that information yet. It's just the concepts. So that really, besides the tariffs being out there, as everybody knows, was really satisfying to have, so that we could tap the market as it was last month to put this together for it to be real for this current time frame, and take the typical escalators that we're seeing for construction. That's the first contingency we were talking about, the escalation. But right now, tariffs are going to take a little time to ripple out. But we're going to keep a pulse on it before the bond vote, is going to happen. So there's more time to invest into potentially, refocusing on the actual final number that you might report to the town. That's it.
Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Chris, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
No, I think that it's covered unless there are any additional questions for us.
You guys have any questions? No? Joel?
No.
Nobody, nothing? Come on. Lisa?
I was told that there was time for questions at the public presentation.
That's true.
True.
I'm
That's
trying
true.
to be good.
Thank you.
Well, please
Appreciate
do
that.
take notes, and we will have an opportunity to speak with these guys again, so that's great. I really appreciate you guys making time to present to the rest of the board, and if no one has any further questions, we can move on. All right,
Cool.
thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Chris,
Thank you very
Jim,
much.
Dan,
Yep.
you guys are awesome, thank you very much.
Yep.
If you want to talk.
Thanks, everybody. Nice meeting everybody as well.
Take care.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all.
Good evening.
Yeah,
Bye-bye, guys.
Thanks.
thank you, Steve.
Oh,
Thank you.
good thing Chris showed up.
Thank you for the drawings.
Hi, Chris.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Just a little summary.
All right, cool. Thanks.
Perfect.
We would love to talk about Warren Falls.
Don't we all?
We love it. It's so great. Do you want to start?
Sure.
Come sit up
Don't
You
here.
wanna
we
join
everyone
us?
Stay here.
You can do whatever makes you feel comfortable.
Come on down.
Make it easy on the camera person.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Don't want to get tennis elbow. And I'm glad I didn't like go by the agenda.
I,
For a minute there, I thought I was gonna. I'm not until like 7:10 or something. I was like, no, I better not do that.
Thank you.
Good. Good
Greatly
thinking.
appreciate
It's good
it.
for all.
You've been
of
to a
us,
few
right? But
meetings,
I-
you know
I'm
that.
here
Yeah.
early.
It is. Yeah, we're gonna have a not fair meeting tonight. Sorry.
Yeah, Warren Falls. So we did some work in the off season at Warren Falls. We had Tom Lepesker, who's a trail builder, come up and he relocated the access to the lower falls and built some beautiful steps and a trail down there. And then we're trying our best to keep folks from the end of the line there because of all the trees we've lost at the end, and just there's a piece of overhanging turf where there's no real ledge underneath it. It's just gonna hang in there. So people love to go there. It's been a little bit of a battle trying to keep them from going. You know, you put a fence on it, you say, you know, habitat
They just-
recovery
right.
area or whatever
Yeah.
it says on it, and they just go right over the fence. As a matter of fact, Phil, our recreation manager, was there before the site was even open for the season, and was sitting there, or walked in, and first thing he saw was a naked woman stepping over the fence to go jump into Warren Falls. So, but we finished that work, and it's just kind of routine maintenance right now. There is one more aspect that we're tracking on there, and that's the need for, we have the portalet there. Really, there's really a need for a more permanent fix than a portalet there. It gets so much use, so we do have it's been a challenging place to put like a traditional like vault toilet in because it's so shallow to ledge right there. But there's a thing's called wasted earth design, which is built for that kind of situation. And we've looked at it, and we just don't at the moment have the funding for it. So we're hopefully in the next few years we'll be able to get some funding. And we have a spot, it's been all cleared and everything, it's just getting the funding and then a contract for installation. So that's kind of where we're at with Warren Falls. We do get some assistance from Matt River Stewards on doing a little bit of not weed pulling in the parking lot, and once in a while trash pickup, and we appreciate that very much.
Can you tell us a little bit more about this wasted earth
It's
toilet design?
it's a bin system, so there's no vault underneath it. It sits on a pad, and it has it's a kind of an odd thing. It has a conveyor belt in it, so when you go to flush it, it actually just moves the conveyor belt. So the liquids kind of drain down and around, and they go into a collection tank. The solids hit that conveyor belt. When you push it, it goes into a separate composting bin that has to be cleaned out periodically, but it can take quite a while for it to fill up. And then you can the liquids will either go into a collection bin, which wasted earth then will come pick up and recycle, or you can put a small traditional leach field in. But it sits in a building that looks just sort of like one of our vault toilets, but a bit smaller.
And you probably don't have the space for a leach field, so it would need.
We would maybe
Yeah.
have the space for a small leach field there. It's more like a dry well, like a gravel well
Yeah.
that would go there. But we are in the zone of where wasted earth will come pick up the liquid, so
Wow.
kind of cool.
That is
They're
cool.
using them in, they're starting to use them, if you're familiar with Vermont Huts Association, some of their newer huts have the wasted earth systems designed to go in. I don't think they have one with it in it yet, but they're designing them to have them installed directly.
Wow, and is that something that then could, also be provided at like Blueberry Lake and?
It could. The need is less at Blueberry Lake than it is at Warren Falls at the moment. And the other thing at Blueberry Lake we're cognizant of is the visual of when you come, if you come up Plunkton Road,
Yeah.
that visual across the lake is where we'd want to put it would be in that North Shore parking area because that's the busiest spot. You
Right.
come up there, right now you don't see a structure, you just see the lake
Right.
and you see the portlet.
It is
but,
lovely.
It's
I have seen that portalet overflowing though.
permanent structure. Yeah, so have we.
Yeah.
This year?
Yeah.
No, not yet.
Yeah, we had trouble in one of the COVID years. It wasn't last year, I think it was the year before with the contractor we had.
Yeah.
They weren't coming, they were having personnel issues and they
Yeah.
didn't have the people to drive the trucks to pump it out, so we had a lot of trouble in that one year.
Across the board.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Blueberry Lake, don't really have much planned going on at Blueberry Lake right now. We're battling a little bit of water at the south shore access. The drainage ditch is on one side of the road and it really wants to be on the other side of the road, so we've had a couple of washouts of that trail. And gone out and fixed it and then it's happened again, so we're continuing to kind of play with what's gonna work at that location.
Yeah.
It's nothing that affects use, it's just more of an annoyance for us.
Yeah. It looks nice right now. Yeah. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah,
Is there anything we should know about impacts to your ability to serve our two sites regarding staffing or resources on your end?
we've lost a little bit of staffing, so if I looked forest-wide, we have 91 positions on the Green Mountain and Finger Lakes National Forest, and we're down 31 positions right now, so about a third of our workforce. Just to give some context to that, some of those positions have been vacant for a number of years. It's
Okay.
not a recent thing. But in recreation in particular, since last year in April, we're down 3 staff people. So we currently have 4 recreation staff. 3 of them field going. One of the program manager kind of goes into the field, but that's not really his job. I mean, his job is to plan and
Right.
And the area being just for the Green Mountain National Forest?
the being just for the Rochester Middlebury district, so think about it from here, essentially.
Yeah.
From down to, Wallingford, Route 103,
Yep.
and then across to Route 7, that block of land in there, which is patchwork in some places, of course, but, is there an impact to the services we provide?
Right.
Sure, but it's not, I don't think it's notable in any way at this point. More notable for us has been more difficulty in getting contracts and agreements,
Yeah,
new contracts and
completed, yeah.
agreements through the approval process, which has changed significantly. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So we probably wouldn't notice much difference.
No, you might notice like Blueberry Lake might not be getting mowed on as regular a basis as it was before, or things like that, because rec mowing contract is kind of hung up in approval.
Right,
So
right.
the staff's mowing where they can.
Right. And it could potentially affect like the wasted earth design if it continues.
Yeah, if that,
Nice.
if we continue to, have funding issues, cuts, then, yeah, I mean, it's still there, we still have the idea,
Yeah.
but it might just take a little bit longer to get it in place.
And in the interim, you'll continue with the portalettes?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay, and we'll deal with parking as it comes.
Yeah, parking is, what parking we have, and then once we get outside of that gate, it's not our jurisdiction anymore. I mean, our law enforcement officer can certainly shoo people along if they're parked in you know, in the no parking zone or call a tow truck. And there was some towing last year. But we don't have any jurisdiction. That's the state police or the county sheriff that has to, or your town constable could.
Mr. Safety's on it.
Yeah, it's a headache. We know there have been some close calls there. We know there have been some fender benders there. I'm honestly surprised that there hasn't been anything more serious with the amount of people crossing the road right
Yeah.
there on that blind corner.
I
And
know.
the lights have helped. I think when the lights are working and they're flashing, that definitely helps people slow down. They're not caught off guard by it. They know that there's going to be people in the road if they drive that road a lot. So, you know, we did have a fatality there last year.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's sad, but you know, we just like accidents at any location could happen, and that was just an unfortunate event.
Was that a swimming event or was it a?
Swimming.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Right
gentleman
after
was,
heavy rain, after
yeah, the
flooding.
water was really high.
Yeah.
And he was skirting along the far side, along the wall, trying to get to a certain spot to jump in, and he slipped and he fell into one of the upper pools. And he kind of got caught in the hydraulics of it and probably got a bonk on the head and got sucked under and stuck. And it took days to find him. So, yeah,
Be careful.
be careful.
Be mindful.
Yeah. Don't go in high water events.
We do have some new signs that I've ordered for that kiosk there. One of them is a water safety sign.
Oh, good.
There is a water safety poster there, but there's a sign related to water safety. Trying to take the kinder, gentler approach to no, 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 because we find that people just ignore no, no, no signs. So there'll be some improvements to that kiosk, and we'll probably move the Friends of the Mad River water quality sign onto the kiosk and get rid of that extra post as well.
Good.
Consolidating signs.
Yeah, I know,
yeah.
right?
We love that.
Oh yeah,
You anticipate that happening
that'll happen
this summer? Or?
sometime this year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
signs are ordered. They'll probably be in later this year, and then that's an easy one to put them up on.
Cool.
Great. Anybody have any other questions for Chris?
The only other thing, just to alert you of, it's not in Warren, but it does relate to Warren, and that's, we have a Lincoln Gap parking improvement project that we've been working with Lincoln on. They got some funding a couple of years back to improve the parking, because it's in their town road right of way. Most of that parking is in their town road right of way, and it's chaos up there in the
Yes.
summer.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't think that someone would pull in behind somebody else and park and go for a hike, but they do. And then somebody comes back from their hike and there's a car parked behind them. So, it's, the two parking areas that are along the road are gonna be, the one on the north side's gonna be expanded a little bit. It'll be a little bit deeper to get people off of the road a little bit more. And then the south side, both are gonna be paved and striped, and the south side's gonna be, I think we'd want it deeper. We actually want it shallower so people can't double park.
Yeah, yeah.
And then our parking lot, which is that gravel lot there, is gonna get re-gravelled and expanded a little bit and have some parking bumpers put in so that people know where they should park. That's gonna happen at the glorious time of probably July.
Yeah, yeah,
We
great.
wanted to do it really early, but you can't get up there
Yeah.
early in the season. And then in talking, we figured that high summer is probably the best time rather than trying to do it later in the season when leaf peepers
Yeah.
are around and out and about.
So that'll start any minute.
That'll start sometime in July, and I'll certainly let you all know when it's gonna kick off. I don't know, it's, Bird's Eye Construction, I think is the company that got the bid. And Galen was, yeah, they were talking about culverts last time I knew, because they're gonna put a culvert under the road up there too, they're very similar.
So is there gonna be closure of that road?
There'll be no full closure, there'll be one lane closures when they're putting that culvert in.
Yeah.
And, you know, they'll probably be
One
one
lane.
lane closure when they're working on paving the two sides, depending on which side they're paving.
And I imagine they'll like work on a section and leave the other section open for people
They're
to still
gonna
park.
work on either the town's paved section or our gravel section and leave the opposite one open so that people will have somewhere to park.
Great. Cool. Good job.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Is that campground is that in Granville that's just,
No,
or is it in Warren?
it's in Warren.
Yeah,
And it's not
Austin Brook.
Chris's.
It's a long story.
okay,
It's,
Austin Brook,
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's-
F Forest Road 25.
yeah,
It's a self-selected dispersed camping site,
okay.
notorious for longer stay campers, we'll put it that way.
Okay.
We spend a fair amount of time trying to shoo people along out of there, but people do get kind of encamped in there.
Oh, that's Austin Brook.
Yeah.
Were you talking about the one right off Route
Pull off?
100?
The picnic area.
Like the
Picnic
picnic area?
area?
on
No,
Horse
not the
Road?
picnic area, the
Okay.
one,
You're talking about
the actual, the
Because
one
we have
that,
it, yeah. So it's not, it's just dispersed camping in our world. Which is, so you can camp anywhere in the national forest outside of a developed recreation area, like you couldn't camp at Warren Falls, you couldn't camp at Blueberry Lake, for 14 days. And after 14 days, you technically have to move on, and by move on, it's move off of the national forest, not just go somewhere else on the national
Yeah.
forest. That's harder to track. But so we try to move people along after 14 days, but that site is notorious for people getting kind of entrenched in. And then the picnic ground, I haven't seen, just in my travels up here, I haven't seen as much
I haven't either.
overnight, like longer term overnight camping.
No, it's been pretty, so
Been pretty
far,
good.
it's been pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I see people, some like one-nighters in there,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
anybody setting up full-fledged camp,
Right.
so that's good to see, because that was going on pretty heavily for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Have you noticed any homelessness in any of the, them camping out in any of the, we noticed a couple of tents. I think it was July 3rd or July 4th or maybe one or both. And people, staying for an extended period of time.
In the woods there.
Well, just like in the parking lots or wherever they can set up a tent to sleep and then hanging out there during the day and then setting their tent back up at night.
Yeah, we don't notice that so
Okay.
much in our parking lots. Well, we definitely have homeless population on the national forest, but they are typically going, down some of our roads to the end of the road or to these dispersed campsites and
Okay.
setting up camp. And sometimes they're even going, they'll go even further in
Right.
so not to be observed quickly. Like we were just walking down one of our closed roads the other day and looked in the wood and there was a green tent hammock in the woods that someone had set up, and they might have just been camping, for a couple of nights, but it was just in an odd place. And we try to help our law enforcement. We have one law enforcement officer for my district, and we try to help move them along and get them the resources that they need. But with the hotel voucher program ending, we do anticipate
Yeah,
an uptick
exactly.
this
Yeah.
summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Pleasure.
Nothing.
Yeah,
Anytime.
thank you
Always
for
good
coming
to
in.
see you.
Yeah, and
Thank you for all you do.
thank you, I appreciate that. And you know where to find me if anything comes up or you have questions or anything, just let me know.
Thank you.
Thank
Do
you.
we will.
All right,
Thanks.
enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Thank you.
Hopefully it goes
Yeah,
quickly.
look at us zip along already.
Look at us go.
Ahead of schedule.
I know, right?
Over and over and over again. All right. Town hall steps. We received a bid. One bid.
It's in your folders, yeah.
From Two Rivers Contracting.
Do we know, is this a familiar contractor?
I know this contractor.
Okay, so
I
somebody's.
have worked with him. I have seen his work. I can vouch for his ability and quality. I think we were surprised we got only one because
Yeah.
a number of people came to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Have you all had a chance to read through his proposal? Okay, I'll give you his.
We realized a lot of things the day that we went over there and met with him,
Yes.
Oh yeah,
so.
brought a lot of things to light.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, there are some unknowns. There are some oddly done's,
No. On a Warren Town building?
which sort of begged the question of how should this be done? And I think that the easiest one to identify there is the paving up to the first
Yeah.
tread, which is really strange. Also not great for the longevity of the building or the steps.
Yeah.
So in a conversation with him, and he sort of outlines it there, do you want me to let you finish before?
No, I'm done.
The idea being to pull that asphalt away from rebuilt steps, allowing for, did he include the front? I'm not sure that he did.
There's
Kate,
a granite slab prep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's on the approach. We had also talked about, and this is something that, we as a board can decide, cutting the asphalt away from the front as well. So basically, like, if those steps get demoed, cutting out the asphalt in a larger footprint than the steps are, so that when the steps are finished, there's like pea stone or a little bit of garden in front of them, or something to keep cars from driving right next to those steps. It would also then allow for a little hatch door, so that there could be like sign storage and other
Yeah.
outside unnecessarily climatized things to be stored underneath. And that would then allow for that first step to be stone or something similar, patio, stone, whatever, so that it matches the height of the concrete sill outside the window. It's kind of hard to, without looking at it, but right now,
think I took a
that
picture of
tread is set so that it's not in the window plane, but it doesn't, but the rise doesn't match. So we could have an opportunity to make that step different enough that the change in rise isn't unusual or a trip hazard, right? It's like, this is the approach. We might even be able to get it to a point where we take it out.
That's the.
Bye, Lisa.
Bye, Lisa. Thank you for coming. So that's what he's talking about there with that granite step. And I called Jim Sanford and asked him if there were drawings, and he said no. There might be doodles somewhere, but no architectural drawings. And we were talking about that step and what about the rise? And I was thinking, like a piece of patio, or he suggested a piece of granite, because that would have been traditional. And it could, what we don't know, and Noah did a little bit, Noah McCormick is Two Rivers Contracting, did a little bit of investigative work, and he pulled a tread to see what those stringers are sitting on. They are seated on concrete, but it's in. So that last tread isn't actually
Right.
on concrete. The stringer sits further back and then is like extended down, if I understood the video correctly. So there's an opportunity for that final step to be a piece of stone or something and a little bit more stable. So they're just sort of some design considerations that we would need to make as he disassembles and moves forward, if that's what we choose to do.
Here's a picture from Rebecca.
And that wouldn't impact the side, like, entrance for the handicap access, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we don't want to go over there, and I think having having it paved up to there, I suppose, is easy. I do think it's a little odd that, like, it's just paved right up to the building, but I don't think it's a problem
Yeah. For our time.
for over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys think about this?
Can I ask a different question?
Sure.
Where's the money coming from for this? Is it budgeted or capital?
It'll be capital.
Did we have? But we added more money to building repairs and maintenance in preparation for this project.
To the capital account?
To the capital account? Okay, so that's why it's capital.
For the stairs and the doors.
We added the amount quoted for the doors plus 15,000 to go towards stairs.
Yeah.
So to capital
Yes.
though. So if this were not to happen this year, that money stays there and
Correct.
could be used next year.
This is twice as much. I mean, this is 36, not
Right.
15.
Right. We
Yeah.
didn't. We weren't
know how
really
much it
sure.
We had
Yeah.
we had no idea what we were
And there's an amount in there, a balance, so, I don't know what that is. $258,925, so, and Dana hasn't added the money from,
Total, I mean, there were other things for that.
Correct.
repairs and maintenance that we kind of were like, oh, we could use that, right?
What do we?
For, haven't we referenced a couple of times, like,
I think we talked about
Town.
that $400 for the audit fee coming out of building repairs and maintenance.
oh.
That was the
or
last
town
one.
improvements.
Right.
Was there something
Yeah,
else?
or town improvements? Yes, again, town improvements and building repair and maintenance is confusing me. I feel like we
Town
keep
building
throwing
renovations,
that
town
out.
improvements, so there's two different line items.
And those are capital?
Mm-hmm.
How much is in the town improvements?
Town improvements is 132,837.
Okay.
So they both have a
That's,
chunk of change in them.
right, okay. I will just put out there that I'm feeling like we're taking on more projects than we are finishing right now. And this may seem straightforward, but I think we know from the doors that anytime you are dealing with an historic building and an old building, I feel like, I feel as if going forward with this project means somebody here has to be managing the project and, making decisions and coming back, what do we do about this? And, oh, okay, well, now what do we do about that? I've asked the question whether if they didn't get done this year, is it a danger? Are we talking about something that has to be addressed? And so, my recommendation, especially, we only allocated $15,000 and this is coming in at 30, we only got one bid. I would like to see us defer this project.
Yeah, I don't think that there's a danger to those steps. I think if there was, this would be a much different conversation.
And I know
But
once we
I-
get the doors in, it's
yeah.
gonna be glaringly like, oh, it's
Yeah,
not attractive,
right.
but I just feel like
But
our
then we
board
could,
is overwhelmed.
then we could budget it in for the next year.
We
As
could
part
work
of
to
this.
put money in the
Mhm.
budget for that, yeah. And I don't know, I mean, we just took a guess at 15,000, did we have any basis for that? I mean, do we think that this is more realistic because we found there were other things involved, or is it, I mean, there's $9,000 for granted, I think, or something like that.
Yeah,
what we
which is
said.
not necessarily,
Right,
What we have to do.
yeah.
so it could be more like a 20,000, maybe, but if we do it next year, it'll be in contingency.
I mean, it
that
seems
up.
like it would be helpful to go out for another RFP, right? If the job has changed enough. And then allocate budget for next year and do it next year.
So I think if we want to go that route, it begs the question of who's building the RFP, how detailed is it, and how do we manage these kinds of projects? And I think, I don't know who it was that floated the idea a while ago about using the $15,000 that we had budgeted to do this project to bring on a property management firm.
But that's not a capital expense,
Right,
so that's the difference.
Right.
yeah, I'll be line in.
So
So, yeah,
I guess my thoughts are, I wish we had a comparison. I have reviewed this. It feels like reasonable expense amounts for what's being proposed. That said, I'm worried about just continually deferring maintenance. I'm worried that if we don't do a piece, and we had this conversation last year, which is why we put money in the budget, was so that we did make progress somewhere this
We
year.
are making progress. It's not like we're doing the doors. I mean, there are lots of maintenance projects that need to be done.
Mhm.
I don't think doing all of them, I don't feel like deferring one means we're deferring maintenance. We have, we have the East Warren, the schoolhouse
Yeah.
Yeah.
that kind of plunked itself down in a new maintenance project.
Yeah.
And I, as a homeowner, as a business person, that's what you do.
Yeah.
You budget, and then as the year comes around, you're like, oh, okay, well, now we got this, so we're gonna have to set that aside. The schoolhouse was completely out of the blue to me, and I feel
Yeah,
like that
likewise.
needs priority over those steps.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we hear, residents say how awful they look, so then it's, then it's,
Right. So it's a
Hearing
similar
people.
question maybe then to what the conversation we have at the schoolhouse. Like, is there a world in which we should call a few painters and ask them to paint the front steps? Because we know that it could be done that way. We could paint it and it'll last, maybe 3 years, and then they could be repaired later. It's the problem of all the steel nails, some of the treads and risers are worn to the point of needing replacement. So it's like this.
Yeah, the paint wouldn't really.
Well, I mean,
I mean-
we could just paint things. Like,
yeah.
we could just
Yeah.
paint things. That's what Ruth's work was going to do. We could just paint.
I know,
things.
and we didn't really like that option.
We
It was
don't
just
like that option.
We were put in such a bind on that
Yeah.
one.
Totally. So is there a way to thread the needle that gets us, maybe it's worth calling 3 paint companies and asking them to come, hey, what would it cost just to paint it? I don't know. Or do we just leave it?
More bids, more.
I know.
mean,
more
as we
work
know,
for us.
well, it's just and Rebecca has to show them the steps.
Yeah,
the
it's a
whole thing.
total
I mean,
pain in the butt.
I just
we need a facilities
want us
manager.
to be realistic about what we can handle.
I agree.
I'm sorry, but the select board does a lot. I mean, a lot. Every day, all throughout the day. And it would be great to be able to do everything for everybody and have the town look perfect, but that's not realistic for volunteers, I'm sorry. And I just feel like we have to get better about saying, can't do that right now.
I think especially with a $10 million bond hanging out there later this year, maintaining our focus on the big project is probably helpful.
So if we don't go forward with reconstructing the stairs, do we have the capacity to develop a plan for who attends to our maintenance and how we get these things done? Because, I've been on the board since 2019 and we've been having the conversation about who's overseeing buildings, who's maintaining the buildings, who's taking care of when it needs to be painted, when the rotten sills need to be replaced, when the stairs become unsafe, right? Who's keeping an eye on that? And admittedly, as volunteers, that is a challenging thing for us.
So do any of the 5 of us volunteer to try to work on a proposal for that? That then you bring to the select board and we, then we can all discuss it. I mean, I just think that's the way we have to go forward with these things, because we can't put it all on Rebecca. She's got too much going on already. As a group, we can't sit here in meetings and, write things up. It's much better if 1 or 2 people are working on something and then bring it in and say, okay, here's what we've got. Where should we go with it now?
To some degree, that question is a budgeting question, right? I mean, it's really a question of, are we putting too much in the capital budget and not enough in a general fund repair and maintenance budget for personnel or a property maintenance company going forward? Is that one way to
Is it
think
a bit
about
of a
it.
chicken and egg thing? I mean, until we really know what we want,
How we
do
wanna
we
do
know
it.
what that number is?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what we've struggled with the most is, are we talking about hiring a DPW? Are we talking about contracting out? And you know, how much are we talking about? We have other needs in the town that could be filled by an additional
Staff member.
staff member who could do a number of things, but that's something that we stuck our toe in the water on right before COVID, and then we're like, no, can't do that right now.
Yeah, so
And-
a little bit of background might be helpful for you all who haven't been here for the long and short of the DPW conversation, and fill in where I don't get this right, because you've been here for longer with that. And, you know, Bob Ackland was pretty adamant that he thought we needed a director of public works, and he had been asking the board for a while to build a job description and hire for that position. And then that sort of turned into, well, how do we hire for that position, and what does that position do, right? Is it a director of public works, which
A
then
management position, or?
yeah, and then is that public works is like everything. It's like overseeing the roads, overseeing the wastewater system, overseeing all the things. But Andrew, as road foreman, does a great job with overseeing the roads. Does he need a director, right? And then so then it becomes okay. Well, so what are we looking for someone to do? We sort of coalesced last year, or maybe the year before, around the possibility of an idea of someone to be a facilities manager, which may have been
That was
just a
last year.
conversation. Yeah. For someone to oversee the buildings, as opposed to everything. But then there are other projects that, like, Andrew doesn't really want to oversee, like this sidewalk repair and bridge repair. And so is there a person that can fill that position? Is that even a reasonable set of skills to ask for someone? And then is it full-time? Is it part-time?
Can they do grants? Can they, you know, it's,
Do they have a budget to manage?
yes,
Have a budget
right,
to manage.
right.
And so that speaks to Harvey's question of like, so where this fell last year, you know, I've been sort of of the opinion that I think it would be worthwhile to hire someone to be a facilities manager. And there wasn't agreement within the board that that was the way to move forward. So we compromised with, let's identify a few projects that need doing, which is where we ended up with the 15,000 for the town hall steps and the doors. And I think that's where we stopped.
Yeah, I think that we did say we were going to look into whether we could contract somebody to, you know, be on call for us to do
Right.
some projects that need, and because it's anything from, like we said, you know, changing the paper towel roll
Right.
holder to overseeing, you know, a complete, you know, construction project, yeah. And I also think, as I recall, that the moving to the town, you know, having the town garage project and bond coming up, we were sort of like, can't see adding that to the budget, a position, full-time position, or even a part-time position. We just kind of said,
And we didn't have the bandwidth for it. Like, we kept
Well,
talking about
right.
it, but then no one had the time, space, or energy to
creating
follow
a job
through
description
on.
and hiring somebody and all of that is
Right.
is a lot.
So we're like going around and around and around, and meanwhile our stairs are
Right.
falling apart, and our doors need painting, and our sills are leaking.
So
Now
how,
we have a whole building that needs to be resided.
Right.
but how has it been done in the past? I mean, like, it's
Barry,
not,
we
I
had
just
Barry
gave you from
for a long
2019
time.
to 2025.
right, but I mean,
Before
the
that.
town's been around for a long time.
Yeah,
so like,
how was it done in the past?
Well,
Barry.
Barry Simpson was, I don't know if he was really DPW, I don't know what his title
I
was,
think
but,
that's what his title was, but I
Yeah.
think it was, you know,
but he did it part-time, he did
Yeah.
a lot, as we know, Barry, you know,
Yeah.
did a lot just gratis. And so then when he left and, they didn't replace him, Cindy, the town administrator, sort of stepped in and kind of picked up a few of those things, but, it's basically just been catch as catch can, select board members, town administrators, whoever.
I was gonna say select board, like Andy
Andy
and
and
Luke both talk about how, you know, they would just show up and fix a thing. Like the ceiling in the town hall downstairs, you know,
Right,
they'd
something's
cut a
leaking
hole
or-
and
yeah,
see
right.
what's leaking, or patch the drywall back in, which Andy, if you're listening, I think you still haven't done.
Or, you know, we hire a contractor to do things that somebody else might do.
Which with the
But-
smaller things was a little bit easier, at least because we didn't have this RFP bid
Yeah.
process, and it's harder and harder to find people
Right.
that are willing to do these little projects.
Did Barry have a job description?
I think he predates the job
We have
description.
written one
Yeah, I
No,
know.
for the
he-
DPW, but I don't
Yeah,
think
so
we did. Oh.
in his records, Barry had a job description.
Oh, did he? Good.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you,
When
history.
when did Barry leave? What year
Barry
did,
died.
Officially, yeah.
Barry died while he was still employed in
Oh, wow.
2015 or 16?
About right. Yeah.
15.
And again, did a lot of stuff
Yeah,
on
and
his,
he,
Yeah.
you know, on his own time.
and
which-
he was really spearheading, from what I've heard, and in my conversations with Ellen about the buildings, a lot of the like historic building stuff.
Yeah.
He cared about
That was a passion of his.
Yeah. So,
So a unique position. I mean,
right.
yeah, it was kind of created for him because he was doing that stuff, I believe.
Well, that's wonderful. That feels like a high bar to cross these
Yeah,
days.
right.
I would love for us to find some way forward that doesn't leave our residents and ourselves feeling like we're not giving it the attention that it's due. Because as we've seen with the schoolhouse, if we don't do things, it will get worse
Yeah.
and
Well,
it will be more expensive.
We should have a CIP for all the municipal properties.
Yes.
Sorry, what's the CIP stand for?
Capital improvement plan or,
Mhm.
you know, something along those lines.
And that's what we really need. Like,
A 10-year
even
plan
if
or
we
something.
had the plan,
Right.
this would be easier,
Yeah,
right? If we had someone to build that plan for us. So, and I think all of this speaks to Harvey's point about how we account for it, right? Like, are we putting too much money in the capital improvements, and they should be going to funding someone?
Well,
I don't
yeah,
know.
or I was gonna say, I mean, like Bob did with the vehicle replacement
Equipment
equipment
yeah.
schedule for the fire department. I think he did one for you guys, did he? And also for the town highway. We should have something like that for
Yeah. Like
buildings,
there's a
whatever.
road, you know, road schedule,
Right.
you know, so I
Paving
think,
schedule.
yeah.
So,
paving
and then
exactly
you're
what we
allotting
need.
that,
Schedule.
you're allotting that money ahead of time into your capital
Right.
budget so that you,
Right, and the buildings get painted
know
every
when it's-
7 years,
right,
and so you know that a handyman or a carpenter is coming to fix miscellaneous rot,
right.
repair busted clapboards, right? Like you just put it on a schedule so that it's
So
happening.
we just need a schedule and not a person?
Well,
No,
no,
we need
they,
a
they are
person.
two different things.
Sounds like
Okay.
you need both, because
Yeah.
you're down a person. Sounds like Barry did everything for a long time. So you're down a person. So you need to fill the role of a person who can be able to go do that kind of thing, as well as maybe that person puts together the schedule
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
right,
all
right.
of the buildings
Right.
and the maintenance, and you know.
Yeah.
And then the question is that person also the one who does minor repairs?
If
Right.
they're capable.
If they're capable, and so then it becomes challenging to build a job description. You sort of have to see who you
Then
get.
you're building it for the person, yeah.
Right.
Or you assume that they're not capable
Right.
of it, and you say that they're
a
going
bonus
to be
if
in
they are.
charge
Of the
of,
budget to hire
of figuring out how to get the right person to do the job,
Mhm.
right? And so we have to budget for a person and
Another
for the
person.
work to get done.
And so then is this person someone that we hire and is staff and we then manage?
What, the person overseeing all that stuff or the person doing the work?
Well,
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
the
we're
thing
not
is
two
that
people.
things slow down in the wintertime. You know, this is not,
Right.
you know, this project list, you know, basically dies once winter comes because you're not out fixing, you know, rotted sills and painting steps and doors and things like that.
No,
But if you're
you
managing
could-
that stuff, you're
You're
planning
planning.
ahead, you're applying for grants.
Oh, yeah.
And you're, so,
And you're getting ready for the summer for the next
right,
set
you're
of
lining up contractors
Yeah,
to.
and there is also interior work, right? Like you have to fix the plumbing and paint the rooms and
Something always happens.
yeah. you've hung plenty of toilet
But,
paper.
but that's,
holders.
but that goes back to that, is this an administrative position or ideally both? And if it's an administrative position, then I think it's what you're saying is they may be very busy at a certain time of the year and not so busy other time of the year.
Except
If
to
we-
your point, if they're applying for grants and looking for funding, maybe that
It's
is.
still gonna be a different level,
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
if they're, unless they happen to be the person who can do, like you said, the interior projects, but that's much harder to find.
Mm-hmm.
So, all of it comes back again to, I mean, it's a cost benefit analysis. Nobody wants us to put a new, $100,000 position in the budget. If we don't do something about our maintenance, it's gonna cost us in buildings and maintenance
Right.
anyway. So
Right.
how do we responsibly, address this?
I mean, I would just argue that it's not a new position, it's an old position, we're just backfilling from 10 years ago.
Well, you can say that, but from the budgeting
Yeah.
perspective, it hasn't been
It's
there.
still
It's a
an
new
added
year every
dollar
year,
amount.
so.
Yeah, still not in the budget, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there's value in what you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It just
It
doesn't
has-
solve the problem.
Can you do a trial run? Where you hire somebody for a year to do, to set up a schedule, look at all the buildings, do all the stuff, get some of the projects started and sort of see how it goes, as opposed to committing to like a
It might-
long-term
It
position.
might be better then to go with a property management company, ask them to be our property management company and come in and do a whole analysis and put a, plan together for us. I mean, that would be the way to do that, I think.
Yeah, it's sounding more like consultation, right? Like hiring someone to build the plan and then facilitate and manage that plan.
Right.
Which I think is what either you or Harvey had suggested a couple of months ago, and I think that could be a great place to start.
Yeah.
Because then you could just put out to the property management company that says, they might not want to do business with us if we're only going to do $5,000 worth of work of the year, but you're going to say, hey, we've got like $50,000-$60,000 worth of work just to sort of do, then we could be competitively asking a bunch of people around the valley to like put their hat in the ring and want to be.
And then they
on
wouldn't
call for
necessarily
us.
be a full-time employee. They would be
They'd
just
be a
like,
sub.
park maintenance.
Just be on
you know?
retainer,
Yeah.
basically,
Right.
or like whatever. Or on
I think where that gets more challenging, and I don't know because I'm not in this world, and it's when I wish Luke and Andy were still here, but like in my experience of property management, they're mostly mowing, plowing, and
I think they've gotten to
There's
be,
Some that do
A lot,
construction
yeah.
and
yeah,
can do all the
maintenance
things.
and repairs.
Mhm.
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, there's
Okay.
multi-million-dollar houses here with
Yeah.
people who
Exactly.
aren't here all the time
Right.
and have somebody who is doing this kind of
Yeah,
work
I think
all the
there's
time.
more of that going on.
There's so many people like that.
And do the property management companies do that kind of repair work
Some of
in-house, or
them
do
have-
they sub it out, or?
A lot of them have them on staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
or
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 someone.
somebody's
And then-
facilitating and finds the right person. Has
Right.
a list
Right.
of like,
Right.
I need a plumber right now.
Just
This one's
the
not here.
electrician
Let's
I
go to
work
this
with,
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they're accustomed to the fluctuation in
Mhm.
work and the different kinds of work,
Right.
and they switch to shoveling snow and
Right.
roofs.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
So
Sugar
how do we-
Bush Path, we're gonna need some help shoveling snow.
oh god, Kaylee.
One thing at a
We're gonna pay them to do that.
Just adding it to the
The
list.
path isn't even built.
I know.
So I think if, one or two people could help me build that RFP,
Yeah.
there's plenty of property management services around the valley that we could send that to and hopefully get some proposals back and, maybe we do it as a trial run, and see how it goes.
So if we do that now, like within the next, I don't know, 3 months, say, right?
By budget season.
Well, see, so fun. How do we pay for it?
How do we pay for what?
How do we pay for we're putting out a request for pricing, and then we're gonna
That would
pick
be
someone.
for the budget.
It would be for budgeting
Right.
for next year.
26.
So we would put
Yeah.
this together so that we could put it into our budget
get some
for next
numbers
year.
together and put it in next year.
Yeah.
I mean, to the extent there were expenses this year, we could take a look at the budget. I mean, maybe there's,
I was just gonna say, we could still do some projects.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
but
Yeah.
as far as the RFP thing.
I think
that
we
would be
just talked
attention.
about not doing projects.
No,
Well,
I think
we have
there's not
I
all
don't think
projects.
we
There's,
formally said that we weren't doing this project. I heard that someone wants to defer until next year.
Yeah,
Some
we haven't
folks
voted
want
on that.
another bid to compare.
you know, maybe we revisit this in the fall.
During budget season.
Budget season is winter.
Budget season is
Can-
every season.
Can you pull up the project, our priorities list?
Alice, did you you raised your hand, Alice? You're on mute.
Unmute this. Yeah, actually, you jumped right to what I was gonna ask about a priority list. We've all been very concerned about our sidewalks in the village, and this has been going on for at least 5 years. The discussion of us residents, they're dangerous and they're getting worse. So and that was 5 years ago, and I really hope that's pretty high on the priority list, because Bob Ackland said, oh, there was leftover money from this and that, and we can get to it, and he's gone, there's no money around. I'm just wondering, where is this? Where
I think
the
he
sidewalks
misspoke on
in
the
this
money.
village?
There's no money laying around, Alice. And
No,
if
I'm
you find
sure.
some,
Buried under the
About
gazebo.
oh,
Yeah.
the money's under
That
the gazebo.
check, it's that check under the gazebo.
Oh, I'll interrupt you here, because he said during the sidewalk re-altercation on the road, there was leftover money on that, and he thought that could be applied to the sidewalk, but maybe,
We looked into that though, and because it's federal money, it would have to be an ADA, it would be it has to be a certain kind of sidewalk. So it's a bigger project, correct? Am I
Yeah,
right
it would
about that?
trigger all kinds of regulation that would make it too expensive for anybody to
So
do.
that grant money that he was referring to
Can't be used.
has constraints on it.
Yeah. However, we did budget for I guess it's probably town improvements, to do the repairs to the sidewalk in front of the Ricards and the bridge.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we phased it.
So that
Where-
that is part of that money that I was
That
saying,
is,
we did put
yes,
money,
in
we did
town
have
improvements.
something
Yep.
allocated to it.
And where are we with that? We had agreed that we were gonna put that out for bid.
I just need somebody to look at, I mean, I've
We-
never done sidewalks. The RFP is done.
Okay.
It's constructed. I just need somebody to look at it to say, this needs some tweaking, or send it.
Okay.
So I can share it with people.
Who might be the right person for that? Who's put out an RFP for a sidewalk?
Nobody, but
And
maybe
Andrew's not-
Andrew would be a good
yeah.
person to consult with. He won't. He won't. I will
He'll
look
say
at it
he
with
doesn't
you.
know anything about it.
I will look at it with you. I will.
Is
I,
it
'cause
anybody
I-
else can?
Well, I don't know, but I did it with Tim. I mean, that's how we got to this.
I
Is
know.
I was doing it.
I know. You doing everything.
I know. Anybody else?
Let me talk to my family.
Your family?
Well, no,
Yeah,
I
let's
mean,
get your family in.
Phone a friend.
No, but I'm just saying, like, they could look at it and say, hey, this looks. I mean,
Yeah.
3 of my uncles are select board, fire department, all the things. So
Great.
Dude, if you
Yes,
want to bring
please.
your family in, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yes,
please. I can just send it to him. And my uncle used to be the road foreman in
So-
Bristol.
Okay, so it's all,
So-
it's written up already.
Yeah,
It's not like
it's
you have
done.
to do this.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So there you go, Alice. That's a little bit of it. We
Yeah.
are planning to do some repairs on that
Yeah.
sidewalk.
And we know that Tim Parent of Parent Construction is interested in bidding it, and we have a list of other people that we can send it to.
Right.
And if he was really generous with us last year in laying out how we had asked for
Right.
that to be done, granite curbs, et cetera, so that it can be done in similar fashion along the rest of that route,
Right.
toward the
Later.
covered bridge,
Mhm.
as we budget for it.
Yep.
Which Alice is gonna remind us to include next year.
So the priorities list, sorry. Have you got that priorities list out?
Yeah, I'm not on the meeting,
Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you.
but it is on here.
Oh, go
So-
to the second tab, Camilla, that's the old version. There's the project list.
While you pull that up, Rebecca, you had asked, for volunteers to help you with the RFP for the property management proposal, I can definitely, I would volunteer to do that.
Okay. Great.
Because I would like to look at the budget too and see what's there for this year, if there's some way to work with that as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Harvey.
Yeah, that's awesome, thank you. Have we added the bollards for the pavilion to our project list? So I'm just seeing other bollards on
I don't
here, and it
think
reminded
so.
me.
No, they have not.
We haven't done our quarterly update of the list.
Yeah.
Hang on, team, let's check the clock. We have to move on. We can't do
Yeah.
the project update right now.
So,
But
but
I've
relative to
added
the
it.
project update, I guess what we were saying, how this started was this idea that we're not doing maintenance this year. And I pushed back on that, and I think there are things on that list that are maintenance that we are planning to do. Just because I'm suggesting we don't do this, doesn't mean we're not doing maintenance for the town. So, or, doing things to make the town look nice. I mean, we have a gorgeous pavilion on the town green. So,
I think where I struggle is us considering these one-off. I think it's more helpful to look at all of the town improvements that we're planning on making, not right now, but like at a future meeting, and just going through the list and prioritizing them, because
that's what
when we have this meeting and we're like, oh, actually, let's defer it till next year because we don't want to spend that money right now, we still have 20 other things that we have to spend town improvement money on this year, and so it's really hard to know, like, are we actually going to do any of the
I agree.
projects, or every time are we just going to
I
say
think
no?
what we need to do is, before we make a decision on any particular project, at this point, we do need to do our quarterly update and revisit that entire project list.
Which starts to get into the schedule that we want to do for maintenance. Because we could start, if we looked at that list, the project list, and we started
Prioritize.
thinking about it also 7 years down the road, how can we line those things up so it starts to generate our long-term maintenance plan.
So we're not moving forward with this at this point in time, is that correct?
It doesn't sound, I mean, what does everybody think? One of the reasons I'm pausing on that is we've already done so much work, and it frustrates me when we move forward and put the work in to get a project done, and then we don't move forward.
Will this go to waste, that work that we did?
Well, this estimate won't be valid.
No, but the project, you outlined a project that needs to be done. You when you say you did so
Yeah,
much work.
we met, I mean,
You didn't
Rebecca-
do this estimate, but you did the
No,
work to understand what needed to
and
be
meeting
done.
with people and
And-
drafting the RFP. Yeah, so there
Yeah,
was
and
time
all of
spent in
that
meeting and
is
conversation.
still gonna be
that-
useful, that you would have to have at some point, right?
Well, we'll have to do it again.
Yeah, but I think,
It's-
again, we have a better idea of what we're looking for. I feel.
Yes, that is true. There is some value that comes out of the process, even without moving forward.
Right.
I've said my piece, you guys, go ahead and.
What do you guys think? Joel, Harvey, Haley?
I think it'd be worthwhile having another bid, because it's just, it's a really large number for one thing, and we can't compare it to anything, and
Yep.
that just seems like a bad way to do business.
That's fine, yeah. So then, but then that begs the question of, are we going to ask for more numbers, or are we gonna say, we didn't get what we wanted out of this process, let's try a different process?
Well, I mean, I
Being
think, from
property
what I
management.
understand so far is that if we got another estimate and it comes in at $40,000, then, or another two estimates that come around the same number, that we budgeted in for next year, and then commit to doing this project next year with a hard number to be able to go off of.
Does that interfere with the potential property management firm overseeing projects?
I don't know, I think it just folds right in, because that property
Yeah.
management company is gonna have to hire
Be on that
somebody.
li- on
If
that
we've
list.
already got someone on the decks to do it, then it's just one thing that they don't have to do, but they have to just schedule in 7 years or however, like, 5 years down the line to remember to paint the steps again so they don't fall apart. So it's just, I don't think it's gonna screw anything up on the long term. It's just, it's just about, Barry must have had all this stuff in his head, right?
right.
And this went around and was like, had a circuit that he must have done to keep everything going since the, 70s, right? And he just sort of went and did it around and around, and we're trying to play catch up with his scheduling, which we just don't know.
Yeah, and somewhat he got to the projects he got to, and he didn't get to some of the others, and they weren't available then. I mean, he built the gazebo, so it wasn't ready to be removed.
Candace is leaving. Thank you, Candace.
Hey, thanks everybody. Have
Thanks
a good
for
night.
coming, Candace.
Thank you, Devin. Bye.
Okay, so we want to refine the RFP and put it out again. Is that what I'm hearing? Kaylee?
I think before we go through all of the work of doing the RFP, we should do the priority list, only because I don't wanna make us do this process all over again and then say no.
Okay.
Because I find that very frustrating
So
for
we're
everyone.
not gonna move forward with Two Rivers contracting right now. We're gonna put the priorities list on the agenda for the 22nd, if there's room. And we'll revisit how we wanna move forward with the potential of rebidding this or not. After that conversation. Is that what I'm hearing?
I would appreciate seeing it in the context of where we are as the big picture. I think we went through, we put a lot of time into creating our priorities list, and we haven't revisited it. So I think it would be helpful for me to get a check-in on all the things that we're taking on and just.
Yeah, I recently updated it and reorganized it so it's in order of what's been completed and what's in
Yeah,
progress.
I
And
saw that.
it would be great if everybody could take an opportunity to review it so that when we do talk about it, we're feeling
Yeah.
up to speed.
Do you guys know how to access that?
Which part?
The project list.
Project?
Yeah,
Oh,
Joel
yeah.
just pulled it up.
Cool.
Harvey, have you accessed that?
Yep,
Okay,
yeah.
great. Good. Is that, are we all in agreement?
I agree.
Okay. Sorry, Harvey, I can't see you. All right, let's move on. And thank you, Noah, for your bid, and stay tuned. Rebecca, will you please communicate with him? Thank you. Granicus, STR ordinance. All right, so we received the review from VLCT on the proposed STR ordinance, and there's a lot in there. Yeah, do you have something you want to say?
No,
Feel
I
free
just,
to
I was
take it away.
surprised when I went through it that it didn't feel like, that like the summary that they sent, I was just like, oh, I don't even wanna look at this. And then when I looked through it, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
it simplified things for me, so I was actually pleasantly surprised,
I felt pretty good about the edits that they made,
yeah.
personally.
I
But
love
I
the
did too.
clarity. Yeah, Harvey, please.
No, the cover letter was a little scary with there was a number of items that weren't consistent with the law and the like, but then when you read it, the actual markups didn't seem too bad, although there were a lot of them.
There are a lot of them. I really appreciate the fine tooth comb, making sure that everything matches with what we are allowed to do. And then, I think that some of this is philosophical, and we've gone through that a few times on, how much do we want to put on the, they change it from the zoning administrator to the administrator of STRs, right? Or
Oh,
the,
yeah, they did do something, I didn't look at that actually.
yeah.
But-
How much responsibility do we put there? Do we have the ability to fine? Can we ask for things? And my takeaway on overall was sort of that we had been looking at this ordinance as a way to inform and educate.
Yeah,
And they're very clearly saying that is not the place for this.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I think that's really what drove most of the edits.
yeah, I agree.
So,
But on the other hand, there were a couple points where I thought, I get what they're saying. Anywhere that they're saying that's not enforceable, so don't put it in there.
mhm.
But there were some things that I thought, I'm okay with us keeping that in there as information. I don't think it hurts.
Yeah.
I can't remember what some of it,
Yeah.
what it was. I have it written down, but
I also really liked
There was
the.
one about like the zoning administrator may come to see
Oh,
the property before
inspect, yeah.
approving.
right.
Which they said, yeah, but the land
Owner
owner might
can
say
say,
no.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So what's the
So-
point?
I also really appreciated the idea of having an informational sheet that does the educating that we were doing through this ordinance, that accompanies the ordinance, and is then also the thing that we ask to have posted, right? Like, here are the expectations of this STR
Right.
in a one-pager, and that's what could be posted, like.
It's got all the references to the statutes and the
Yeah,
fire safety and all
because
the other
you know
departments
they all
that
have their
do
little
cover
binder
stuff.
with your welcome packet. Like, it can go in there.
It can also be included as an attachment to the
Yeah.
ordinance itself.
Yep, exactly. And I think that's good.
Yeah.
So, how do we want to proceed? If we want to edit this document, if this body wants to edit this document, we need to do it here together. Alternatively, I imagine we could ask the PC to do it,
Or one or two of us could work
Yeah.
on it.
or
and
one
then
or
bring
two
it
of us
back.
could work on it and bring it back.
Yeah, I thought about that. I was like, oh, has Dan seen this? Because Dan kind of crafted a lot of it.
Mhm.
And then I was like, do we want to go down that road? And if we toss it back to the PC, are we starting kind of over again, or do you think they can just take the edited suggestions? My feeling about it is kind of what Kaylee said. I think they simplified it, and most of what they edited, I can go with, and there may be a couple of points that we all might want to discuss a little bit, and should we leave it in, should we change it, whatever. I feel like it's fairly straightforward. Am I offering to do it? You can do it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Take the edits and make them
I'll take
whole.
the edits and then.
Can I send you a couple of my thoughts on
Yeah,
it?
I think everyone should review the edits
Mhm.
and send me a couple of your thoughts if there's
Mhm.
any key sticky points, and then we can maybe in our next session, or not next session, but next real
August,
session,
yeah.
or August,
Yeah.
go through what those points are, of where we're feeling a little sticky. But I think a lot of them were pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I agree.
And it was very much like, you have the authority to do this, you don't have the authority to do this.
Right.
Do this to make it clearer.
I wonder if you and Camilla were to do this together with her thought, because she's been pretty
Yeah,
tied to the
collaborative.
STR thing from the beginning. I would feel comfortable with letting the two of you do that and not needing to weigh in on whether or not we include or don't include. I would be
Okay.
happy to review your final draft
Great,
and talk about passing it in the beginning of August.
Yeah.
perfect,
I can send you the Word document,
great.
because they sent all this in
Does
Word.
that sound
How do you
like a
guys
good
feel?
plan?
I don't know how Harvey and Joel.
Jeff?
So I know
No, I think that's a great idea.
when we started it, when did we start talking about this last?
It was before budget season a
So
year
probably like-
ago, so.
Yeah, like October
Jeff,
maybe?
why do you have to bring that up? What's going on?
So Stowe just passed theirs May 5th, and I sent a copy to Rebecca. It's on their website. You can review it. They had a lot of key points that I think is. I can't remember what's in all of ours, but it might be worth like kind of comparing them, and because they just went through the whole VLCT going through it and everything else, so it might be worth taking a look at. I tried to print it out, and I
I'm
don't
sure
know what happened, but it
VLCT
looks like Chinese, so.
Is it
Yeah.
too long?
I'm sure VLCT took the same fine
I
tooth
would-
comb, because what, like, one of the objections in it was the interest payments on
Yeah,
the fees.
Yeah, right.
Which we borrowed from Stowe's initial draft.
I was gonna say, I think we got that
We-
from somewhere,
We
100%.
borrowed
so,
from Stowe, I think, and I think we borrowed from Killington.
okay, yeah.
And
I
they-
mean,
I
a
thought it
lot
was
of what they
Woodstock.
struck was, I think, stuff we got from other,
Yeah, the
other
things that
towns.
they
It was like,
struck were the things that we put in from other
Yeah,
towns, so
yeah.
I think it's.
But noted that theirs
Yes.
has passed, and
Yeah.
Yes.
maybe in
Yeah.
our free time before bed we should read it.
I mean,
Give it
I
a
read,
look.
I'll put your.
I read through a little bit of it. I was talking to the Stowe chief just yesterday, and he was the one that actually brought it up, that they just passed it.
Yeah.
And from the side of it, from the fire department, where like, they have property manager, if there is not somebody on site, has to be there within so much time, or they have to be required to have a Knox box, this and that.
Yep.
And it makes a lot of sense, because we've gone to houses we've gone to condos before that are short-term rentals, and we've waited for an hour, and the property manager still didn't answer their phone. So it's like, well, we can either break the door, and then now start counting how many doors there are, or, things like Knox boxes and stuff
Yeah.
like that, so it's,
We
Did
can take a
we
look at it.
require
That
the
did
Knox
not
box?
get-
We did include
It's
the
right there.
disc box, yeah,
We did, but the whole local, somebody being there within an hour thing,
got struck.
yeah,
struck,
it's
yeah.
not enforceable, they said.
But if there's a Knox box,
if there's.
Yeah.
not
But so
then you
then-
don't need
it's
someone there.
I'm just
That-
saying, so
that
does
is
that
still
mean
in
we're
there.
requiring Knox boxes on all STRs? Because we can't only require them on the ones
says
that are
within-
less than an hour, cause you can't
Right.
enforce that.
Oh.
So then you're requiring
so
them
then
on
it's
all
on
of them,
all of them. Yeah, I love that.
which is a different level.
Just do that.
For the amount of money that they're making off their short-term rentals of Knox boxes. it's
They're not
investment.
all making tons of money, stop that,
This is true.
stop
They're
that.
not all making tons of money, but
Plenty are, but.
and the
cost
Knox
of-
box is not that expensive.
Correct.
Less
Cost of the
expensive than a
doors.
door.
It's a lot less expensive. They're like $200.
They're
I
knocking
think,
down a door.
Right? Is that what we're
For
Yeah.
a residential one, it's about $200.
about $200? That
You-
feels like a
So
reasonable
this,
requirement.
so that this says, all short-term rental properties in which an alarm system is active.
Yeah.
And that would be the ones that you
Because
would be,
otherwise, we're never gonna know places having an issue.
right, so it's just
Unless a
the
neighbor
ones that
calls.
have alarms.
Unless we hear
That's-
somebody calls because they hear the smoke detectors going off, and
I would say it should be everywhere, but
So
I trust
don't-
you
I was
two.
gonna say, why don't Kelly and I come up with something and see, okay.
Yeah.
We'll come
Do
up
that.
with something and ask you.
And okay, so this
Jeff's had this conversation.
that sounds good. Everyone's in agreement. What is our meeting in August?
Ba-dum-ba-dum-ba-dum.
Sorry, I just had it.
We
open.
have 8/12 and 8/26.
So 8/12.
There's, at this
Let's
point, there's
review
nothing
the
on
STR
it. Yeah.
ordinance. That's great. Please. And we'll have just come back from our fun day in Rutland.
Rutland.
It's in Randolph.
It's in Randolph.
Randolph.
Sorry, Randolph. I do that.
That's not the 12th.
That's the 11th.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. The second piece of this conversation is Granicus
Yeah.
and how we want to move forward with them, especially once the ordinance is live, etc. Thanks, Jeff.
Bye, Grouch. Oh, I mean, bye, Jeff.
Love that he came for the whole thing, just for that. So good. I sent everyone an email about a proposal on how we might be able to move forward with Granicus a while ago.
I must have forgotten. Let me get back to that.
And Jim Crafts is here, and I'm hoping he'll participate in this, but we were sort of talking about, the question that Camilla's been asking since the beginning is, who is responsible for onboarding these things, for checking the data, for registering people, checking on registrations. Now VLCT has said we have to have a paper application option as well. So who's putting all of that information in? It seems like we know it's not appropriate to put this on the zoning administrator. We need somebody else that can help facilitate this. And I was chatting with Jim at the PC about whether they are willing to sort of be the lead on navigating Granicus and being the person to whom someone reports with respect to administering the system. Jim said he thinks that will, Jim, please jump in whenever you want here. The PC hasn't had an opportunity to have this conversation yet, so we're still flying by the seat of our pants a little bit here. But wondering if we had budgeted some extra money for an assistant in zoning, thinking that the STR ordinance would have already been passed and that we would have an increased workload that the looters would already be passed, and that the increased workload on the zoning administrator would require more assistance. The looters have not been passed. That isn't happening. The money that we have put aside for an assistant hasn't been being used there. And we were thinking we could use those salary dollars to hire someone to administer Granicus. And that person would report to 1 or 2 point people on the PC.
Why would they report to the PC?
Yeah, I'm not sure that's even, I mean, I get it from a resource perspective, but I'm not actually sure that they would have the, like, authority to direct somebody, being a.
Well,
They're
I
not
thought that we
legislating.
wanted like the data gathering and the information that was happening through Granicus to be filtered through the planning commission so that they can make informed decisions about how we move forward with regulating or not short-term
Yeah,
rental.
I mean, this is more of a procedural or administrative thing that who has the authority to, and maybe we wouldn't run into this issue, but only the select board, I think, has the authority to manage any employee. So
Understood.
if there was some decisions that needed to be made or something like that, or whatever, that would have to come through the select board, I guess. But maybe that's just a technicality, and it's more just working with them.
Yeah, I think I was imagining more like a working relationship, and Jim, if you could speak to this part with like, the planning commission has an appetite to see this happen and to be involved with Granicus and
Yeah.
the data there. So I think we were thinking more like, say if Jim's gonna run point on this project, he's gonna work in coordination with whomever we hire, and they're gonna be in communication, making sure things are getting done, and then reporting back to us, ultimately.
Yeah, Devin, you've got it right. That's why I haven't said anything. I mean, everything you've said is accurate. The other point here is we've got to kind of decide what do we want to do with this data, right? I mean, so initially there were 4 or 5 questions that came out of the, who does Sam Robinson work for? Mad River Planning, right? So there were, and only 2 of them really applied to Warren. So collectively, we need to work together with the person that's, getting the data inputted and make sure that, hey, we've got these questions in mind, let's make sure that we're getting this data.
Right.
Yeah, and providing support, right? And like, if they have questions on how to do things, because what we were hearing last time is like, we don't have the capacity to learn how to use Granicus. Rebecca doesn't have the time, nor is it her responsibility. Ruth doesn't have the time. The PC is saying, hey, we have the time, and we have some money that we could use to hire someone to do that and use those salary dollars. It's still in the realm of zoning and planning. But I don't think
for
that
2 years for the extent of the ordinance, or for.
well, we
Right, we'd have
budgeted
to
for
read
this fiscal
this,
year,
yeah.
but we could continue to budget for that. Our intention was to increase the budget for the assistant for the zoning commission, for the zoning and planning.
So we'll need to do that next year for the looters.
So
In
it
addition
may
to
require.
Yeah, I mean,
Both.
what it comes down to is everybody told us, no, it's not gonna cost you any extra money, and it's gonna cost us extra money.
Yeah.
So,
I wonder if, from a personnel perspective, it might be better to have the position report to the town administrator, but support the planning commission,
Yes.
just from writing reviews and, budgeting and all that. It might be
I think that's a great way to do that, because I don't think they need to report to the zoning administrator. And then that, Harvey, sort of solves the problem that Camilla was raising, right? Like, the select board technically is managing the staff.
Yeah, it would report to the select board.
But we don't do reviews.
We
I
do.
mean,
We did mine.
Like,
We do.
well, yeah, but I mean, like, for assistants, we don't necessarily, right?
Well, that's why maybe reporting to the town
I don't
administrator.
have anybody reporting to the town administrator right now. That would be something new.
Carrie.
Carrie does?
Mm-hmm.
As the
Work for
assistant?
me, but she reports to me.
Oh, okay.
So are we allowed, from a budget perspective, to use those salary dollars that were assigned under planning and zoning for an assistant and not have that position report to Ruth or be directly under her?
I would think so. I wouldn't think
Yeah,
there's
I mean,
any.
it's-
It's still for
can
planning
support
and
the
zoning. I think
Planning
it
commission,
still
it should be
applies.
fine.
Right.
So that's what I would propose, and I think that we have someone in mind that has said they have an interest and would like to do it.
I thought, okay, and I thought she didn't have more time. I thought something
Not
had
with-
changed in her life.
Not within the 9 to 5
Right.
schedule.
Oh,
So
that's what it
if
was.
it's something
Right.
that could be done from home
Right.
at will when she has time,
Okay.
she would
That would
be
be great.
interested.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Kaylee, Joel, Harvey, what do you guys think about
Is
that?
it a full-time job or a
No,
part-time?
I don't.
Do we would need to
We
set a
don't-
number of hours?
Yeah, we don't really know. I think we need to go from the budget,
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
what's left
Mhm.
in the year, and think about, starting August 1, right? Because it'll take us that long to get
I don't know.
to it.
Jim, do you have any vague sense of how many hours this might take, or no idea?
I think it's a half-time position till the end of the year.
You think it's halftime? Like 15, 20
It's gonna
hours?
be a lot of stuff.
Yeah, probably, a quarter to a half a head count for the rest of the year.
It's just data entry, is that what they're doing?
Basically, I think.
Okay.
I don't really know. You know
Reviewing
better than I do.
Well,
applications or not
it-
approving
it-
applications.
It's a little bit of both data entry and verification,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah, the data's in there, but now, okay, I gotta go find the house. Well, maybe you might have to go drive somewhere or call somebody. So it's a little bit of both.
So let's look at what we have for the budget.
Yep.
And see if there's interest.
There is interest.
There is interest, you've
Yep.
already confirmed that.
Yep.
Okay, and to the tune of like 15 to 20 hours a week?
Yeah, no more than that.
Okay.
Mhm.
And when do we think this would, Jim and Rebecca, because you guys do know more about this than any of us, is there something to do now?
Right now, it's in getting enrolled in Granicus University and learning the platform
Okay,
and things like that.
so yes,
And then once we pass the ordinance, it's getting out the template letters to let people know that they need to register
and we
all of
could
those
even
things.
be front loading that,
Correct.
right? Like
Mhm.
getting those letters, knowing that we have a draft.
Yep.
And coordinating with
Would this
Granicus to
person-
get those materials.
Would this person be involved in enforcement?
No.
Mm-mm.
I don't think they can be.
Right.
No,
I
I
think
wouldn't
just
think
the zoning administrator right now can do enforcement.
Processing of information, I would say, is
Yeah.
an administrative
Gotcha.
position.
So this person would let the zoning administrator know that there's a situation that would need her attention.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would think.
Yep.
Okay, so we are going to let Rebecca move forward with looking at what we have for dollars and how much that will support and engaging with this person and seeing if they'd like the position.
Hey, Rebecca,
Mhm.
how many slots do we have in Granicus University that we're allowed to take advantage of?
My sense, Jim, is that we can have as many as we want.
Okay, and so we've had one person go through it and complete it, or two?
So right now it's just Julie, Ruth, and I that are enrolled. Julie and I have taken a couple of the modules. I think there's a handful of modules that you have to go through, the first two, or the first ones took Julie and I roughly 50 to an hour to do. And I don't know, if they get shorter as you progress. But I can ask Granicus if they can give us sort of a time frame of how long they think going through all of the
So-
modules would be. And we could get
Your
some additional logins.
So your best guess is maybe it's a full day of training, something like that,
I would think so, yeah.
8 hours?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Will you also inquire about extra logins?
Mhm.
Like how many we're allowed to have? And then Jim, on your end, I think you and the PC are planning to have a conversation about who kind of wants to do this alongside. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm interested, but I want to make sure that we get everybody from the PC who's really interested and want to kind of be part of this also participating. So I'm saying I'll do it, but I want to make sure if someone else wants to really do it, I'd step back and be more help than, leading it.
Okay.
So, yeah, I want to have that discussion with the whole team.
And are you guys planning on doing that? Is next Monday your meeting? I
Didn't you
don't
have
know.
one last? Oh, no,
They didn't.
I
have
thought
one.
because the
no,
first
we
was,
should
no,
have
they are next
this
Monday.
week.
Yeah. No, you're next
We're-
Monday. Because we're.
Yeah, so yes. So yeah, I'll have Ruth add it to our agenda, Devin.
Okay, great. And that'll put us in line with, maybe we can finalize if we want to hire someone on the 22nd.
Mhm.
Just let us know, Jim. And then we'll work toward passing that ordinance for the beginning of August. And hopefully we can get this person up and running and learning things.
And actually get something out of our Granicus this year.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a very good goal, is have a report into the select board by something like, October.
Great.
That would be my goal anyway.
Yeah, awesome.
I love
Thank you
it.
so much, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Moving right along. Town administrator update.
Oh boy. Okay, you ready?
Boy.
I'm just kidding.
Do we have a copy?
You don't have a copy.
Okay.
Because I was still typing it at 4 this afternoon. The airport road project, the town received 7 proposals. I've included the bid tabulations in your folders. And based on the proposed timeline for completion, Andrew and I would like to recommend that the town award the project to Kingsbury, because they can get it done the soonest.
Rebecca, I don't think I have that.
You don't have that. Let me email it to you right now.
Okay.
I don't think you sent this.
It's a very long, or very long window.
What is?
Boulders.
Yeah,
It goes,
exactly.
oh, to October 1st, yeah.
Also, that was not a positive conversation.
I just sent it to him, Devin.
We were doing it the old-fashioned way.
Start date's not included.
Some of them included start date, some of them didn't. Some of them were
Wow.
more vague than others, some were extremely higher.
We have experience working with any of these, all of these?
Kingsbury,
Kingsbury,
Menage.
I don't think Andrew has experience with them.
Yeah, I think,
They were in Waitsfield yesterday.
I'm happy to take Andrew's recommendation if that's what he suggests.
As am I.
Me too.
I'm for.
Harvey?
I like Kingsbury.
Okay.
Do we need to move it?
Let's move it just
Yeah.
for the minutes.
We haven't moved anything.
I know.
I make a motion that we accept the bid from Kingsbury's for the Town of Warren Airport Road Bank Stabilization Project.
Second.
Any further discussion?
And
All
they-
those in favor? Aye.
I,
I was just gonna say the amount, but
For $59,691
for the record, thank you.
for the record. The motion passes.
Okay.
Keep going.
The storm drain on Brook Road, has been fixed,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not an issue anymore.
This is the one in front of the house that
Yes.
the property owner did something to.
Yep.
Oh, good.
That was a quick turnaround.
Uh-huh.
Why wasn't that on our project list so we could check it off?
Yeah, right, because it
we
wasn't our
were-
project.
Yeah, exactly. Thank goodness.
I spoke with Dana today. The town's in a good financial spot right now. We've received a few unexpected payments, which means that Dana will be able to pay off the remaining balance on the line of credit
Nice.
by the very end of August, 1st of September. I'm trying to save the good stuff for last. So the tax sale is next week. It's scheduled for 11 a.m. on Wednesday, July 16th. I am available to represent the town. However, I need approval from the select board in order to place any bids on the town's behalf for any parcels that don't get bought. That's typically what happens.
At the risk of taking time up, what's the town's usual practice on these auctions as far as buying or what?
Have
I'm not
we-
familiar with.
Trying to think if we have. In
I
my
don't think
time.
in years past there's been many.
Usually somebody else buys them or they pay off their taxes, so
Yep.
I'm trying to remember if there's been a situation where.
I think
I
there.
thought there was one a while ago, but other than that, they go pretty
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah.
It's all those little alpine
I was just
village
gonna say, and
lots.
as of right now, I believe they're all alpine lots.
Yeah, if
There's-
they're all,
Mhm.
yeah.
No, there's one on Roxbury Mountain Road.
Oh, is
There's
it?
a small.
Is
little-
there? Okay.
There's a small house.
Yeah, there's a powder hound unit too.
Yeah,
Got it. So,
it's a weird house too.
None of which I think I would advocate we buy, but
Yeah, I don't know that I've never seen us buy something.
I guess, yeah, I'm not familiar enough with that process to know.
right.
I think.
But it's
Dana
basically
might
just
know.
in case there is something that we,
Yeah,
What you got
we
your
don't-
eye on?
nothing.
I am curious if like the Conservation Commission ever has their eye on it too, though, from like a, them
Yeah.
trying to conserve
Awareness,
land
yeah.
Right.
and
I would think that they would have come to us.
corridors, they probably
By
would.
now,
They do
yeah.
usually come to us, or it's flagged in some other way.
well, I was just, I mean, they may not, no, I guess the
They may not
question
know.
is, do they pay attention to the tax sale?
The
Question.
one on Roxbury Mountain Road is surrounded by houses on all sides
Mhm.
and the road,
Probably,
so
Yeah,
it's not
it's
like
gonna be-
not something that's gonna
Yeah.
have a wildlife corridor
Right.
going
Yeah.
through
Right.
it.
And
then
Alpine's not likely to
those are
be
just,
anything in a protected area at this point either.
The powder hound though, team.
Yeah.
They have raccoons.
God, they have bears. They have bears. Yeah.
So, we need to authorize you to represent us? Do we hear a motion?
I make a motion that we allow Rebecca, town administrator, to represent the town of Warren at the tax sale in case there are any properties that the town feels we should acquire.
Second,
so,
Any further discussion?
does she have a spending limit?
The
Well,
full force of the budget behind her. That's why I
I
asked her
don't
what
know.
she's looking
Where does
at.
that money come from if you were to buy anything?
I have no idea.
Capital,
This is
Yeah.
fun.
So,
okay, capital, yeah.
I mean, I can get some more information from Dana, and email you guys tomorrow. But
I don't think
Yeah.
this has ever come up. That
Right.
we've designated, it's usually,
okay.
Well, we do always have a representative.
we do?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just always been
Somebody has to be, I was here one
select
year,
board.
but I didn't know that I was here to buy things.
Well, I guess that's never come up for me, that
Yeah.
there's somebody.
That's just sort of how she
A
works.
missed opportunity. Okay,
So-
yeah, but get some information from Dana,
I
and
will.
A move,
it was moved and seconded.
but it hasn't been.
Nope, we're having further discussion. And if you want more background, I would suggest reaching out to Andy,
Okay.
who has seen a lot of taxes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All those in favor of
Aye.
Rebecca serving as our agent? Aye.
Okay.
Still going.
The new GIS mapping system is now live
Hey.
and available for testing by a few of us. Andrew, myself, Julie, Jeff, and probably Ruth, but I'm not sure if she's used it yet. I have had the chance to use it several times, and I found it to be very user-friendly and easy. The layout's clear, tools are easy to navigate, and in my opinion, it's a huge improvement in terms of accessibility and function to what we had. I think that, the hope is that between the 4 or 5 of us that are using it, we can, smooth out some glitches and then get it live on the website soon.
Yay.
And
So-
what will be the difference? What will the public see as a difference?
It'll
Is
just
it
be,
an
it'll be a
information
different
update,
look.
or is it just a
It's a different look.
it's just a
It'll be the
different,
same
more
information.
intuitive platform?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
the listings that are not up to date in there,
Well,
that's not changing that.
They should be up to date because Julie had to give them a bunch of information.
Okay, so it should also be an update, not just a different
Correct.
look, so
Correct.
more accurate.
More accurate.
Okay.
Exactly. So any subdivisions,
Yeah.
that hadn't been put in our current GIS mapping, that kind of stuff.
Transfer property
Boundary
owner,
line adjustments, things like that.
property owner names,
Transfers.
okay.
Yep. Exactly.
Jim has his hand raised.
Jim,
Yeah, so Rebecca, can you add your own layers to this? I mean, how much, is it a better tool now? I mean, people can actually use it and draw on it and then save their layers and
That's
that's one of the
don't
things
know.
I'm super interested in, right? I looked at, I'd like to put all our sales since like 2005 on GIS map and just be able to say, okay, where are we building? And hit a layer and have it show up.
Mhm.
And I could not do that without the software on the old tool that we used to have that we didn't have, that we don't have anymore.
Yeah, you know what, Jim? I can ask Julie if she can give you a login for that so that you can help us test it.
I would do that.
Yeah.
If you guys did that, I'd start poking away at it.
Okay, I will most
asked-
definitely talk to Julie about that.
I had asked the regional Central Vermont to do it for us, and I'm not very high on their priority list in order to create a map. So,
Got it.
Shocker.
I'm getting I just want to get it done so that
Yeah.
I can say that this is what we're doing, this is where we built.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, because I think that's probably a level that none of us testers, are going to go at. So I'll talk to
Yeah,
Julie.
it'd be good to make sure that there's a little bit more utility to the software.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you know
Okay.
when the last time the satellite imagery was? Like the old one has it's so long ago.
Exactly.
And I'm curious
That
if
I-
the
that
new,
I haven't-
new imaging
I
is,
mean,
I haven't looked at that piece of it.
yeah.
But yeah. So I've sent out a few requests for quotes for additional tree work because Whitney Tree Services had given us a quote and we were just looking for a couple more to have a comparison. Just waiting for those to come back. Keep you guys updated. I've heard from several residents and community members who feel strongly that the select board needs to take more of an active role in planning the Warren's 4th of July parade. There's an interest in forming a committee to help with fundraising, event planning, and developing a clearer mission for the future of this historic celebration. And it's also been suggested that next year's theme be Happy Birthday America. So, just putting that out there for you all. The town.
Next year is 250.
Yeah,
250 years.
exactly.
Big year.
Yep. So I think they just wanted
That
to.
might be a good reason for the town to take some more responsibility around it.
Yeah.
are you volunteering?
Sounds like he's volunteering.
I heard that, yeah.
That's what I heard.
The town received an invoice from Charlie Snow for repair work he completed on the cemetery road following some recent storm damage. However, this work was not formally approved by the town in advance, and the invoice totaled $4,250. I asked the cemetery commission to meet with Charlie to formalize a process for future work, which also raised a broader question about the status of maintenance responsibility for Cemetery Road, but that can be addressed at a separate time. Following their meeting with Charlie, the cemetery commission is now requesting that the town reimburse him for $1,725 for the repairs that were completed. And I don't know, what the agreement was on the rest of the balance of that, but that's, I think I put it all in everybody's folder.
I can speak to that if anybody would
Yeah.
like me to.
Yes, please.
So the original 4,000,
They're not
whatever
there
it was,
I had it at one point.
Oh, I think it's just in yours, sorry, no.
yeah, the original 4,000 something, no, I don't need that. It was actually his entire invoice for other things that he did, like installing the gate up there, which was in our budget. So there were a number of things in the original invoice
it.
that were actually in the cemetery commission's budget. And repairs to the road up above, the parking area and that kind of thing from the storm damage, that the cemetery commission did find the money for. This particular area, which is right above us, it's kind of a gray area, honestly, and we do need to do some research on this. The way I see it right now, Charlie has done a lot of work on the cemetery gratis.
Yeah, exactly.
He does so many things for us and doesn't charge the cemetery or the town. So he's kind of taken responsibility for the whole area. It washed out, he urgently wanted to get it fixed, so he fixed the road. Technically, I think, and we'll need to look into that, but Cemetery Road is a town road, it's really should be on the list of the town's projects. But it hasn't been that way for a long, long time, so the upside is that Charlie gets it done, doesn't bother the road crew except to bring over some stuff, but, and in the past, maybe the cemetery commission has paid for it. So we could revert to, well, it's the town's responsibility, and then Charlie won't do anything for it. That, we lose out some in that as well.
Yeah.
So it does need to be resolved, an agreement of what the town's responsible for, what the cemetery's responsible for. So at this point, our feeling was that we would like to come to the town. We don't have the money, basically. The cemetery has no money. So there's that, and that's something else we have to deal with. So we don't have the funds to pay for the repairs. Charlie said, fine, I'll eat it. But our feeling was, it is a town road, repairs were done, we didn't bother the town to get them done. Can the town find the money to reimburse or pay for the repair? That's the story. Questions?
Going forward, what does it look like as far as getting, was there a conversation about getting approval to do work prior to doing
Yeah,
it?
so the end of the conversation with Charlie was, anything he does, he has to get cemetery commission approval before he spends any money, because cemetery has no money, so, yeah, so that was, whether it's town stuff or cemetery stuff, he's now under orders not to spend any money, without approval first. So
Okay.
that would keep this ostensibly from happening again, because we would then enter into conversation with the town, with Andrew, and say, hey, how do we get this repaired?
Right. And as far as researching what to do in situations like this, is the cemetery commission working on that? Is it something that you need select board
it's-
backing on?
well, I
What does
think-
it look like?
I think, deed research, whatever needs to be done. And right now, Brent is the only person working on that, but.
Is he
it's
working
an
on it?
It's an ongoing project. He's got lots of things too. So
Okay.
we're working on it. I
Yeah.
can't say that when it's gonna be done.
Okay. But if something happens,
Right now.
based on the way that things have been being maintained, Charlie will at least say, hey, this needs
Charlie
attention.
is keeping an eye on it. The town is not.
Okay.
right now.
Right.
And if he needs to do more repairs, he will let us know before
He'll
he
have
does
to,
it.
yeah.
Okay.
Or
And I
he
think,
knows that
you know,
he
I've
can get paid
talked to
for it.
Julie a couple of times, and I think she's mentioned it to you all, that she would like to see sort of a 5-year plan, you know, sit down with Charlie,
Yeah.
you know, talk about what he sees that needs to be done, that kind of thing.
Yeah, we're
So-
actually gonna do a budget this year. The cemetery commission has, as far as I know, never really done that.
Yeah.
Michelle and Charlie just kind of worked together on the money end of it. We never had that conversation, so this year we're actually gonna be putting together a budget.
Great.
All that stuff.
Congratulations.
I know. Julie and Brett, yay.
With the capital improvement plan.
Uh-huh, see? I'm
Awesome.
all
We're all
about 'em.
so up and coming.
Yeah.
So what do y'all think about this invoice from Charlie? 1725. Add stone to ditches and clean excavator to move stone furnished by town. Clean out ditches and reform for better water flow. Add stone to ditches and clean up. Top of the road by the clerk's office.
I was gonna talk to Andrew and see if there's a possibility that we could take it out of contractual in his budget. Because technically it would be,
It
you
is,
know,
yeah, it
yeah,
would come out of his
contracted
budget.
work. And I don't
Right.
know, you know, where else,
But does he have a
Town.
contract?
Well,
Contracted just
you
means
can contract
hire
people
somebody.
without actually having a contract. In the state
Yeah.
of Vermont, you can still have a handshake as a contract, so.
so, but I was gonna talk to Andrew, see if, you know, that was gonna be my recommendation, but if he feels that it could come out of somewhere else,
Could it
then
come out
so
of
be
town
it.
improvements?
no, it's
I
not
don't
really
think
a
so.
capital
No.
expense.
Okay.
So, but I was, you know, Andrew might be able to
I
look
can-
at that and say, yeah, we'll take it out of
I
such
can
and
talk
such.
to Andrew if you want me to.
Yeah, whichever. It doesn't, you know, he'll be back on Monday, so.
Right.
I personally appreciate Charlie making the fix. This
Exactly.
is a modest sum. I would be in favor of paying it.
I mean, 125
I
bucks for
agree.
an
I mean,
excavator's
I think
cheap.
we're lucky to have somebody like Charlie looking out for this.
I agree.
Like,
Yeah.
I agree. It makes sense. And since it's a town road, you know, in the future, we should just be responsible for it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we should walk it, but also the deed research is important because I think it's the culvert that's under the cut that goes into the cemetery as, you know, as part of this work that was done. So it's
Right.
not all necessarily on the town road. And I think we happily support the cemetery and the cemetery commission, so.
Yeah. I mean,
Does the town own the land that the cemetery's on?
it's so complicated.
I think our burial grounds dealt with the way, for cemeteries, the way that like private burial grounds are. They're sort of like,
They're their own.
yeah,
it's
they
their own-
live outside of ownership.
They do, yeah.
Nobody owns them, and there's like a perpetual right to access them for everyone
Yeah.
in perpetuity.
And the cemetery commission is sort of like the library in that it's its own entity. It's not under the town umbrella.
Amazing.
It's, yeah.
But you can bury anybody on your own land in the state of Vermont. So as soon as you do that
Yep.
You,
Plot
you
of land
can, but
becomes-
you
it
have
has
to
to be-
record it as a burial
Right,
ground
right. So
Mhm.
it becomes a designated, yeah,
space.
yeah.
Fun. Okay, so do I hear a motion to approve this payment to Charlie, and Rebecca's gonna figure out where that's coming from?
so moved.
Is there a second? To pay Charlie Snow for $1,725 worth of road repairs off of Cemetery Road. All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Discussion?
Yeah, further discussion.
I think I mean I'm totally in support of this. I think it's great that Charlie did this. I question though if a different committee had come forward and said to us, "Oh, by the way, we spent all this money that we don't have," if we would react the same way. Just noting that we have a soft spot for the cemetery commission and just
Right, running the
from
hypothetical,
from
right?
a precedent perspective, it seems like a bad practice. From a community building perspective, it's fine. So I just wanted to just make that clear. But that's kind of how I.
It's It's a fair
sit
point.
on it.
I mean, it's sort of what we're dealing with, like the aftermath of Barry not being here. You know, a person that's been part of the town, has done a lot of stuff, and now we're trying to have a position that makes that person's
Yeah.
work legitimate, and because we need that person's work, and so it's sort of the same person, same kind of person who's just, you know, has a, you know, heart that's
A volunteer.
a volunteer that's
Right.
Yeah, it's tricky, and the only thing I will say is that this is not condoned, and I think you need to take our word that things are changing, and that the cemetery commission as a group does not think this is the right way to do things, and that's our commitment to change that.
I hear you. And I think it's important, at least at the town level, that we remain nimble and flexible and honor the, you know, the work that's done. If we can, and how we can.
And remember that this was also, if we had done it correctly, we may have had to go to the town to use town resources to get the town to do it instead. So
That
there
is
was a
an
little bit
important
of
point with respect to,
trying to
is it
save
town property or is it
resources.
cemetery commission? That is maybe the only nuance with respect to the precedent that's being set. But I think it's a valuable point, and I appreciate you bringing it up.
Fair.
I imagine you're recusing yourself.
Yeah.
Are you ready to vote? Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes.
Okay.
Thank you.
One more thing.
Appreciate it.
We'd like to organize a community work day to help
Love it.
spruce up some general cleanup around the buildings and public spaces. Tasks like weeding, sweeping, trimming overgrown areas, picking up litter, light maintenance. You know, sort of in response to, you know,
Building
not-
maintenance.
you know, no, but not, you know, not replacing the gazebo, you know, roof, but just, you know, sprucing up the town. You know, it takes a village to do projects like this, and, you know, I think if we could all come together, and help spruce this area up.
Yeah.
You know, we have this beautiful new pavilion that a lot of people use on a daily basis. And if we could just, you know, Devin and I were here,
With
what was
Julie.
it, two Fridays ago. We just happened to be outside, and we just, so it was like, oh, this and this, and
We're
you know, we were
weeding
weeding, like,
lilies.
so.
And Jim's out there with his chainsaw
Yeah,
cutting
exactly.
down
This
saplings.
is the Friday before the 4th. So, I'm hoping to coordinate a date, so that we can begin spreading the word, so that we can encourage, as many volunteers to join us as possible. So I don't know, you know, sort of what time frame works for people. We were sort of thinking August.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people try to take vacations in July. So
What do you guys think?
Who is this?
It's us.
it's just us. I mean,
Oh, it's us.
Well, it was Rebecca and I and Julie standing around, and we're talking about things, and I was like, can we get some volunteers to do stuff? And they were like, that's a great idea. And then
so
we
this-
asked Julie to put together
this is the
to put
Julie's
together
list that
a
she came
list
up
of
with.
like, if we were gonna have this community
Yeah.
day for
I'm sorry.
outside work.
No, that's what I was asking. It's the community, not just us.
Yes.
Right.
Correct.
No, it's
Correct.
just you. Can you make a select board meeting on
Okay,
Saturday?
we can volunteer to do some cleaning now.
You know, even if people could just come and give a half an hour,
Right.
you know,
Yeah,
or
the
you know.
steward or the chamber, right? They do like that whole big thing on Bridge Street where people come and they
Exactly.
landscape and all the stuff, right? And we were thinking, you know, maybe the town supplies donuts.
Yeah.
So who's organizing it? Who's
You
running
are.
it?
You weren't here, so we
I
volunteered.
think between Julie and I, we could get this organized. Most definitely.
But I mean, that day, you're running around
Yeah.
telling people how to fin and weed.
Yeah.
and-
Julie
Julie is
really
all over that.
I said, if we do this, can you tell people what to do? She said,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Can
Yeah.
Julie tell people what to do?
Yeah,
she sure
she's
can.
Yeah,
ready
she
for
can.
that. So I think giving her and we can say, like, when you organize it, bring a rake, or, bring your gardening gloves, whatever, and have a list of tasks.
Yeah.
Organizing who can bring things.
It'd be cool to think about whether the committees could all kind of come up with a list of tasks. Like if there's a list of tasks at Brooksfield and they want to participate in community day, they could come up with that from the rec committee. Library has a list of tasks. Like it
The
would be
library
better-
isn't technically responsible
I
for
know.
the building, though.
I know, but people who are friends of the library will
Right.
always show up and volunteer.
But like
You know
Marie
what I
has
mean?
some heavy things that
Right.
she would
Yeah, I was
like to
gonna
come
say,
out of
it's
the
not necessarily
basement,
building,
that kind
maybe
of
it's
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
moving
exactly.
Stuff with
Yeah.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
Baby steps. That's how I was
Painting
thinking.
steps.
Oh, painting steps. I did ask
I
if we
can
could go so far as
spill
to
a bucket
paint
of paint
things.
on them.
Rainbow colors.
Especially the white parts where it's the rest is
I support this community work day. I love the idea. I would love to see this happen annually in the spring, so that it
On
helps
Green Up
with,
Day.
like, not on Green Up Day. Really? On Green Up Day? Doesn't
Green
that
Up
sort
Day
of pull-
weekend?
We don't really have like a big Green Up Day thing in the town. We sell the
But
stuff.
Green Up Day is
where we
about cleaning
have
up
the
trash. This is about,
town beautification.
If you're not a trash picker, you can come and do that.
yeah.
No, I agree though, I mean,
I don't know that I love
Big-
the idea of it interfering with Green Up
Yeah.
Day, but I do
Cool
think
to
it
do
would
it.
be a cool way to bring community together, and Alice and Lisa are all saying, like, hey, let's have some pride in this. Maybe there's an opportunity for that to be the day that we pull the ladder truck out and we take the lights off. I don't know. I'm like, it gives people an opportunity to participate in what they're asking to be done.
yep.
I agree. I mean, maybe that is the day we get the ladder truck out and
And pressure wash the building. But then we'd have to paint it.
We just have the windows washed. Don't touch the building.
Don't touch the glass.
Or you could do the week before the 4th of July parade.
I know, I
That
was
way
thinking
the select
sometime
board
lead
is
up to
taking
the-
an more active role in the 4th of July.
There you go, adding things. to-
Sidebar, I wasn't here, but I heard that the trucks were not in the lot.
Parade.
No,
None of the food trucks were up
were
here.
not-
No,
There were
none
no
of them
food
were up
trucks.
Nope.
here at all.
But they were at the post office.
The
There
bagels
were
and the donuts were at the
Bagels.
post
Yeah,
office.
I thought they weren't
And
supposed
then
to,
there
I
was
thought they
an
said they couldn't be
anarchy
at the
truck
post office.
for the
That is
ice
what they
cream
said.
down by the gazebo.
Okay.
The small gazebo.
And Ben's gonna come do a recap and we can
Yeah.
talk about all these things. He made a couple of incorrect assumptions. There were
Oh.
2 porta potties instead of 4, which was a bit of a problem.
It's a very
Um,
long line.
Big
Yeah, but we'll get it all
Okay,
worked out.
sorry, go ahead. Back to
so,
community.
So I like the idea of a community day. Do y'all want to look at a calendar and see what you think makes sense? Do you care? Do you want to let Rebecca and Julie figure it out?
Just say late August.
There's a skate park event on August 2nd. There is the Warren Church barbecue on the 16th. And that looks like it's it for August, for weekend stuff.
Okay. What about a Sunday? Or
I'm gonna have to get back to you because I don't know what's happening.
Okay.
I know we're gonna be out of town at some point in August.
I have no skin in the game on this one.
Okay.
Tell me when it's happening and I will do my best to
Okay,
be
let me talk to Julie.
Same.
The Green Mountain Stage Race is obviously Labor Day weekend, so we don't wanna do that.
Yeah. People usually travel or have stuff
Also,
going
that
on.
feels late. Like, let's shoot
Yeah,
for
exactly.
the beginning-ish.
Yeah. So
of
maybe I'll
August.
see if she wants to do maybe the 10th or the 17th. Those are both Sundays.
Yeah, or the 3rd.
I'm not sure I'll be back from vacation on the 3rd.
Oh, okay.
I could do the 10th, I don't think
I'm
you
not
could
sure
do
I'll
the
be back at all
17th.
from vacation.
I will not be back.
Yeah.
Shoot for the 10th. Oh,
Okay.
Or the 17th.
Or the 17th. Okay. Right. I'll talk to Jules.
Or the 9th. Or the 16th.
Let's see what she wants to do.
I love it.
Okay.
And tell us what to bring.
Okay.
And do we want to approve some sort of small budget to provide refreshments?
Yeah,
We-
and how are we advertising it? You
I was just gonna maybe do like something on the website, something on Front Porch Forum, free stuff.
Free stuff.
Free
You know.
stuff.
Yes.
Oh, Jim, are you still there?
Jim.
He's not
He's there.
He's here.
Oh,
He's
but he's
muted.
not there.
Really? Anyway.
Jim! I'm surprised because
Great.
Jim's here.
yay!
Jim's here.
If we do this community day, this community work day, did you hear? Remember when we made you chainsaw saplings?
Yep.
It would potentially be an opportunity to move giant things out of the basement
Oh, perfect.
and give them away.
I've got,
That's a great
That's
idea.
what-
we,
that's what piqued my interest.
oh, there you go. There
Haul
you
it
go.
out and you
The
can
bow
take it.
flex.
Yeah. Oh, we got
That's
rid of
out.
the Bowflex.
Oh, good job.
It's great. You
Yeah,
should go down and see it. It's great down there.
Oh, that's awesome.
But
Can really take a walk.
yeah, you could get a donut and a free elliptical if you come volunteer.
Exactly.
I'd like to maybe put out there that there are even some people in our community who could bake. Like I
Exactly.
would be willing to bake, and we don't have to buy.
Let's do
Have a
that.
budget for stuff. You know.
Let's
I would like
have-
that.
Bring
supply some
potluck.
You know, help
Yeah.
help in
Potluck
any way that you
Yeah,
can,
yeah,
which might
contribute some
include
food to
a dozen muffins.
Yeah.
You know.
Bring some coffee.
Yeah. Exactly.
Coffee. Yeah.
Okay. I
So
like
a
that.
loaf of bread from Camilla and an elliptical.
Yeah. There you go. Such a deal.
She just bid on it
Awesome.
with her basements.
God, help me.
That's awesome. Great. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's it for me.
We have action items, which we forgot to put on here.
I'm sick of action items. My whole list is an action item.
Your life is an action
Your
item.
life is an
Granicus,
Yep.
salary dollars,
Yep.
the RFP for the sidewalk,
Yep.
Find money
Setting a
for
date for community work day.
set a date for community work day.
find money for the road repair.
Yep. I'm gonna talk
Cemetery
to Julie
commission.
about the GIS mapping. Get Jim a login.
Tax sale. There was something you were gonna do with that.
I'm gonna get some more information and send it to you guys.
She's gonna build a toilet for the town vault, the Warren Town Falls.
Nice.
And you're gonna work with Harvey on what does an RFP for a property management company look like? And that's a long term. You don't have to do it
Yes.
by Friday.
And then Camilla and I are gonna look at the STR.
Yep.
Yes, and contact Two Rivers, please. Anything else?
So when is our next meeting?
Tomorrow? It's 4 hours long.
20,
Thanks. You're awesome.
20, da-da-da-da-da.
That's Jared.
22nd.
And when is our public meeting's the 21st?
Mhm.
So we have some work to do to prepare for the public meeting on the 21st.
We have
I
some
mean,
work
in
to do.
theory,
Well,
we have to set it up, we have to,
we need to have
We
a
have to-
projector, right? Or how are we doing that? We should have access to projecting an image on a screen and chairs. We don't need refreshments.
You don't need a microphone for that space, right?
No.
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 Smaller.
Yeah, so I mean, just in terms of who's setting up the space.
Yeah.
Are we getting there early? Are we? How are
Oh,
we
that
getting
would
it
be
set
great.
up?
Can two of us get there early and set up?
What day is this?
The 21st.
It's a Monday.
It's a Monday.
I like to typically go over during the day and do
And set it
setup.
up at some point.
Just because let me just make sure that there's nothing on the calendar that day. I already put it on the calendar, but yeah, there's nothing during the day. So if somebody wanted to come, like, you know, in the afternoon, we could get tables and chairs and the projector and stuff set up. You know,
I'm
bring these
really good at
over,
that.
get the easels, you know, set up, and then we're not all, you know, sweaty and bleh
When the meeting.
when the meeting
Yeah.
starts.
What, do they, is it cool up there?
They have a heat pump now.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't been up there in the summer.
What time of day do you usually do that?
I can do it whenever.
I can
I'll
help you with
put it in
Okay.
there for one.
Want to do 1 o'clock?
One?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Cool. Um, And what was the other thing about that? Oh, and communicating it, making sure that it's publicized.
Yeah, my
We're
plan
doing
is to
that.
get that out to Jeff Knight for the Valley Reporter,
Okay.
and then get it on Front Porch Forum and the website and all of the things.
And we
And
don't
so
have
our
our listserv
advocates.
yet, yeah, so our advocates, and
Right.
then there's some folks who
Yeah,
specifically have asked for that.
I'm this close to that being done. I just want you
Oh.
guys to look at it.
Oh,
So
great.
Listserv?
no, not the listserv, but
Yeah.
the communication to the advocates.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I will share that with you guys. Well, hopefully tomorrow morning.
Awesome.
Great.
But yeah, just those other people that we know, the neighbors who we know would like to come
Exactly.
to that meeting, to
Exactly.
make sure that we send stuff to
Yep.
them. And Front Porch Forum, and yeah.
And
At
to
least-
each of us, to tell people,
Yeah, yeah,
talk to people,
exactly,
tell your
yeah.
community.
Everybody talk to at least 5 people.
Yeah,
you know.
and Jim, if you could ask the PC to do the same, that would be great.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed, asked them to do what?
You're supposed to be waiting on every word.
I know.
Hanging.
If you could please ask the PC people to spread the word about the public meeting for the town garage on the 21st,
Oh, yes, absolutely.
that would
Yep.
be great. Please and thank you. And maybe it'll get in the Valley Reporter this week and next week. That would be ideal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
Awesome. What else?
Thank
Any
you.
other business? Other business? No. Okay. Can we sign stuff? Look, we're only 6 minutes behind schedule.
Jim left.
Bye, Jim. Okay. I need. We have payroll and accounts payable.
They're correct this time.
Great, thank you. Okay, a motion to approve payroll in the amount of $35,133.
Do I hear a second?
Yes.
What did
Joel
you
has
say?
seconded.
1,000?
$1,133.
$133. We got a second.
Joel seconded.
Well, I have two. One's for $13,968.99,
Should be 33 something. Might
and
be
the other
is
one's
that the dollar sign?
13.
Look at my calculator.
318.41. I cannot understand how these are done.
I know, there's,
Good try.
It's the
This one and this one.
is the amount ever circled on those?
No.
It'd be really helpful if we could, yeah.
$136.72.
And
And
then
then some, it's this column right here, right under the names, on the first page.
17,996.28.
Okay, so what's this?
So that's 35,000.
Supporting the payments aggregating $13,968.99.
That's after the,
I think that's after,
There are good and sufficient
Taxes.
vouchers supporting the payments.
this
this
is
is all
the
before.
gross.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
That's the gross that we're paying right
okay.
here.
Then you
So
got
we've
taxes.
got 17,996.
and 17,130s.
It was like 33 something.
It's 35 something.
17,996.
35,133, I think.
17,996 and what?
28 cents.
28
Oh my
plus
God. Look at this.
17,136.72.
Look at all this gobbledygook. That's what it's Dana system.
My calculator did not want to do that.
You want me to read it?
17 and 17 is
It's
somewhere
35,133.
I think that's right. I think
It's
that's
35,133.
We have a
It is.
second.
Yes, we have.
We had
You
further
want your privileges
discussion.
taken away
We've
from
had a
you?
lot of
Okay,
discussion.
great.
It was my fault. It was me.
She's questioning,
All those in
making her
favor?
doubt herself.
Please.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
motion to approve accounts payable in the amount of $98,832.57.
Second.
Yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, I had a question though. Doesn't matter. What, Actually, we're going back to discussion, sorry. What is Green Mountain Concert Service?
They're the security people that do
Oh,
the Fourth of
concert
July.
service,
Mhm.
I was like, oh, music.
We
Thank
should
you.
have a festival.
What's
Looks
the
like
kids
Butterfest
thing?
was a big hit.
Yeah.
It was very busy.
What's the kids? Melody Shoemaker, isn't that one also on there?
Yeah,
Yes, it
that's
is.
for, I think she does something
There's some
about
sort of
Brooksfield.
entertainment at
Yeah.
Brooksfield,
Yeah.
stuff.
We have minutes of June 10th and June 24th.
Move to approve the meeting minutes from June 10th and June 24th.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have a first-class restaurant and bar license for Sugarbush Mountain Resort. For Allen's Lodge. Look at this sticky note. Thanks,
Nice.
Brent.
It's getting all fancy.
Ah,
Allen's Lodge.
did you say first?
First class. Hang on.
Yes. I was just gonna move.
Bars, clubs, hotels, and restaurants to serve beer and wine.
Move to approve first-class liquor license for Allen's Lodge, Sugarbush Resort.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's it. Do I hear a motion to enter executive session for legal?
So moved.
I'm moving to the bathroom.
All those in favor? Aye. The motion passes. Thank you, John.